Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
How long will it be before a man runs from the start to the end of the 100 metres track in 1 second?
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the two Mikes, and we're in for Colin Murray all week, and of course all of next week as well. The Community Shield is just 2 weeks away when the Premier League champions Leicester take on Manchester United, but while Jose Mourinho prepares for his triumphant return to the new season, things can be more different at the KP. Leicester seem content that so far they've only lost N'Golo Kante to Chelsea, and they're trying desperately to hold on to everyone else. If they don't want to be just another one-hit wonder, shouldn't they be trying a bit harder? 08717 22 33 444. We'll keep you updated on the cricket as England and Pakistan get underway in the second test at Old Trafford. Also coming up on the show, it's the Porky Quiz, and ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix, it is of course on Formula 1. I'm predicting about 3 out of 10. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There's lots going on today. There's cricket, there's football, there's Formula 1, of course. Practice is underway as well. And it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And you're absolutely right to highlight the situation at Leicester City, because it's quite astonishing.
It really is.
These people at Leicester are taking, I think, having a problem trying to recognise they are the predominant team in English football.
Yeah.
They are champions of the Premier League.
They're waving the flag, indeed, for the Premier
They're
League.
waving the flag for the Premier League. They're going into the Champions League for the first time ever. And all we've heard coming out of Leicester so far are players leaving, £35 million, N'Golo, and now losing one of the key architects of the whole Leicester story. That man, of course, being Steve Walsh.
Yeah,
now,
going off to Everton.
Going off to Everton. I mean, I'm an Evertonian, and if his reputation that precedes him turns out to be accurate, then we've got a fantastic acquisition there. No problem at all.
This is the guy that's been credited with the great recruitment policy at Leicester, right?
Found James Vardy, you know, the man who you could say whose boots took Leicester to the Premier League title. But what I'm saying is, if I was a Leicester fan, and I'm not, I'm an Everton fan, so I'm very happy that we've got a new guy like Steve Walsh joining us. But if I was a Leicester fan out there now, I'd be saying, hang on, why are we sitting on our hands and letting players go? When in fact, if we've got a Champions League campaign coming up, shouldn't we be buying and attracting players of even better quality than the ones we have now?
Normally what you would expect if a team gets into the Champions League for the first time, in a while, never mind the first time ever, then they might want the odd sort of veteran from the Champions League to say, well, this is how it all works, this is what you should do, even if it's just to help the players in the dressing room.
Yes.
But they seem to be convinced instead that it's great news that they can maybe offer a new contract to Kasper Schmeichel, maybe offer a new contract to Danny Drinkwater, and they won't leave. Yeah. They've got no intentions, it would seem, of bringing anyone in.
No, I totally agree. Now, you may or may not know, but of course I'm an historian of some repute.
I didn't know that.
That after the Second World War, of course, Winston Churchill just sat back on his hands, really. The general election was called, and he just sat there and waited for the adoring millions of people in this country to vote for him as Prime Minister for the next 10 years.
Yes.
It didn't work out that way.
But was that not partly because of the way that the soldiers voted when they all came home? Because they weren't quite as keen on him as he thought they would be.
Absolutely. Land fit for heroes. But what I'm saying is, the Leicester manager, right,
Mr. Ranieri.
Claudio Ranieri, he's very much got that attitude, because at the moment he's saying things like, I don't expect us to win the Premier League, we're probably 6,000 to 1, I hope we don't lose any more players. What you really need in this situation, and this might sound a bit controversial, but I'm afraid it's absolutely true, Mr. Ranieri was a great man to win the war, but he's not going to be any good in the peace.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
He's not going to be good in the peace, and do you know what?
What?
The only thing Leicester can do now to ensure that this doesn't all turn to dust is sack Ranieri.
See, I think that's a very bad thing to suggest.
No,
I'll tell you why.
They've got to sack Ranieri.
I mean, most of last year, don't forget, almost everybody who was anybody in the football business said, Claudio Ranieri can't possibly see this through. Claudio Ranieri is bound to falter at some point. This team will probably not make it up until Christmas. This team will probably have a problem in that doldrums period between, New Year and May. And it never happened. Nothing ever happened except for the fact that Ranieri won the league against all the odds, against everybody else's better judgment. And I think you'd be wrong to think that he's not prepared for the new season.
No, he's not. I don't think he is now up for... I think what he's done is, after 25 years as a manager, not winning anything, He has won things. He won domestic
Well, he has
titles,
won
but
things,
not as substantial as the Premier League title.
Yeah.
He's now come and won a major title, and I think he said, right, my job is done. That's the attitude I get. Now, I might be very wrong, but that's the image he's giving out.
Is it not possible, though, that he is just one of those guys that doesn't boast? He's not a guy that wants to come out and go, we expect to win the Premier League for 2 years in a row, you know, which, of course, is very hard to do.
Yeah.
He's going to just sit there and maintain that kind of rather sort of raffish kind of charm that he's got, and he's not going to be shaken or stirred by anybody like you trying to wind him up and saying, you should be doing more work.
No, I'm not trying to wind him up. Look, Leicester have done something absolutely magnificent. Other than Blackburn in the early days, they're the only team outside the so-called Big Four.
And, of course, Blackburn were accused of buying it, weren't they?
Yeah, they were accused of buying it.
Which Leicester weren't, really.
Uncle Jack, who was a steel magnate, and the way the finances worked in those days, he could individually buy it just as a successful businessman, not as a country, right? Now, the point I'm making is this. Leicester have done something so magnificent, but I see it all turning to dust.
Yeah.
They are simply not picking up on the energy that they should have generated from winning the Premier League to go on, to go forward, to become what Brian Clough turned Nottingham Forest into in the 2 seasons after the way they won their first division title.
Right.
You don't see Leicester at the moment winning the Champions League, do you?
Well, I don't see them winning the Champions League, no. But what I'm saying is that I would have expected them to maybe bring 1 or 2 Champions League style players in, which they haven't done. Maybe they still will. I mean, there's 6 weeks to go, isn't there, until the transfer window actually closes?
Yeah, but there's not 6 weeks to go until the season starts.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
But also 6 weeks to go as well could mean that they will lose more players than they'll actually bring in.
But the other thing is, Mike, we're getting nothing from the boardroom at Leicester to explain their ambitions. Now they've created perfect foundations. What building are they going to build on those foundations? What citadel are they going to erect in the world of football? And that means that any players out there who are currently being tapped up by scouts on Leicester's behalf are simply turning around and saying, hang on, Leicester? Oh, yeah, OK, they won the Premier League, but that was a bit of a freak, wasn't it? Because even Leicester don't seem to believe their luck. Even Leicester don't seem to believe what they've done. Yeah. Because Leicester haven't laid out a blueprint of where we go from here. Right. And a player needs to know that.
Well, what have Leicester got to show for the year's winning, shall we say? I mean, what would you expect them to do in the new season? I mean, would you say that they should now think about finishing in the top 6, in the top 4? I mean, you know, maybe they won't win it again.
I think they should issue a statement saying we have every intention of trying our very best to retain our Premier League title. Yeah. However, on the side, they'd settle for top 4 for another go at the Champions League.
Maybe he's superstitious. Maybe he doesn't want to say anything like that in case that somehow jinxes the chances of doing it.
Haven't the board sat down with Mr. Ranieri, you know, after all the euphoria of winning the title, and said, now look, what is your attitude towards next season? We want to do this again. Yeah. Can you do it again? Yeah. And he said, no, I can't. So in that case, don't you say, look, thanks very much indeed for what you've done, but we believe that if there are a squad of players here who's good enough to win the Premier League once, then we need a man to motivate them to win it a second time,
or don't you,
and to add to the squad.
Yeah, or don't you? That would be the second part, wouldn't it? If he answers the question, no, I don't think we can. Yeah. And then they say, well, what do you need in order to do it? And if you need more players, you need more money. Then you have to tell us.
Yes, absolutely. And so at that point, you go and find a manager who actually does want to take it on. Eddie Howe might have been the man.
Yeah, I don't know why people keep talking Eddie Howe up.
Well, he's done a remarkable job at Bournemouth.
He's done an okay job at Bournemouth. I mean, he hasn't exactly done anything brilliant, has he?
Well, what I'm saying is, think of a man younger than Mr. Ranieri who sees this fantastic opportunity to actually build a citadel on top of the foundations which have already been created. And think of a manager who could do that. Think of a guy, might even have been another overseas manager.
Might have been.
Could have been somebody out there who said, what? The opportunity to take hold of the English Premier League champions?
I mean, Diego Simeone, somebody like that.
Diego Simeone would have been a very bold move by the Leicester board. Right. And they could have said, yeah, OK, so we haven't got the name that Arsenal or Manchester City have, but we have got the Premier League title sitting in our foyer. You want to come and see it?
Yeah, I see.
Your office is just above it.
I think Claudio Ranieri knows a lot more about what he's doing than people give him credit for. We want to hear from you out there, of course, not just Leicester fans, because everybody's involved in this. 08717 22 3344. Do you expect Leicester to be the powerful powerhouse that they were last season, or is it just going to be a one-hit wonder? 08717 22 3344. This is the Two Mics. We're in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. Get 40% off Wix 12-inch oscillating desk fan. Was $19.99, now just $11.24. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. We've got loads coming up, including the Porky Quiz a little bit later on, which is on, of course, Formula One, because we're on the cusp of yet another Grand Prix this weekend in Hungary. Got lots of tweets coming in, lots of phone calls to take as well, and a couple more questions to ask you. How about this from Stephen,
Yes.
who sent this in at the two mics? He says, Eddie Howe, he's done an okay job. He's not exactly done anything brilliant. He says, Mike Graham, have a word with yourself. Hashtag plank. Why? You know, why is there this kind of myth abroad that Eddie Howe is this sort of footballing genius?
It's a very small club, Bournemouth.
Well, no, it's not.
And
It's not a very small club at all.
It
is owned by people with an awful lot of money. Okay?
Well, I'm sorry, but up until 2 or 3 years ago, a very small club
Yes,
indeed. And
until
Eddie
2 or
Howe's
3
been
years ago.
associated with that
Yes.
club for many, many years.
Yes, he has.
And is responsible for the infrastructure that's there today.
He has, and he got them promoted.
Yeah.
And he got them to stay in the Premier League. But
Despite the fact that he had 3 major players with crucial ligament injuries,
all right.
including his
He did
star striker.
In other words, he did his job.
Yes.
And he did his job very well.
He did,
but
yeah.
does not make him a genius of football that should then be given the job of running the Premier League
38,
champions or being talked about as the next England manager. I mean, it's nonsensical.
At 38 years of age, you can't tell, so you have to take a gamble. I agree on that. He's 38. He's not got the track record of a 60-year-old man behind him.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I think he's worth a punt.
Right, now how about this from Jerry, who's tweeted in.
Right.
He says, I agree that Ranieri should go. I'm a Leeds fan and we should have sacked Wilkinson after he won the league.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
see similarities.
That's absolutely true.
Now, that is an interesting point.
Yeah.
But however, not everybody agrees with you. And John is a Leicester fan,
Okay.
and he can't believe what he's hearing. John, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah, hi, John.
What would you like to say, John?
Well, I nearly crashed the car listening to you. I had to pull over.
Right.
So we're Premier League champions, yeah, unexpected Premier League champions. I understand that. And we should be defending it with some gusto. Equally, I understand that. But we've lost Steve Walsh, massive part of the club.
Yep.
And we've lost N'Golo Kante, who in my opinion was the best player we had last year.
Yes.
We've brought in 4 new players. We have not mentioned that at all.
No, I didn't know about them. I didn't know about them. You know, it's not
well,
being...
you just got to read the papers, read the newspapers.
Well, I'm sorry, mate. Yeah, go on.
Mendy, who we bought from Nice, who was the first choice to replace Cambiasse last year, but we couldn't get hold of him. And a Walsh pick, by the way. We couldn't get him last year. We bought N'Golo Kante instead. So you could say we've bought the player that N'Golo Kante replaced.
Well, you could say that.
Into Walsh at the midfield.
But who's going to be doing that job now that Walsh is gone?
We've got other players, people at the club. Craig Shakespeare is assistant manager alongside Steve Walsh.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Steve Walsh going is a massive blow to the club, but he's moved closer to home. He's done his job. He's seen us through. But this project at Leicester City's been going on for
John, listen, mate.
3 years, and these players have been picked 2 or 3 years in advance.
I expect you to defend your club, and of course you will. When I said to you, I didn't know about these 5 players you brought in, what I meant by that was they're not making headlines. Where is the 40 or 50 million pound midfielder from a top European club who's been invited to come and join the English Premier League? Where's he? Where's that signing?
I'll turn that back round to you then, Mike. And who was N'Golo Kante to I want to go?
No, I totally agree with you.
Favourites to be relegated.
Yes.
Favourites to be relegated last year because we lost Cambiasse.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's now a different. Hang on, John. But it's now a different
course it
situation,
is.
right? Because now what you're talking about is a Premier League title-winning club, the club that is the current champions of the Premier League. Now, that in any sort of situation, you would expect players to want to come and play for the champions because they're in the Champions League, apart from anybody else. And what we were saying is, you know, it's one thing to bring in players when, you know, Leicester were fighting relegation and then you had a fantastic season. But once you're actually the champions, don't you then look at a slightly better calibre of player, just if for no other reason, that has experience in the Champions League?
We've lost 1 player. We've brought 4 players in. We've had Matty James come back from injury. He was out for a whole season. That's like getting the 5th signing.
Yeah.
Now,
that's not the question I asked you,
I
John.
know what you're saying, but the question you asked is why haven't we got a marquee signing? How do you know we haven't?
Well, what I mean is,
No,
I'm not asking. No,
with...
no, Mr. Parry's talking about a marquee signing. I'm talking about a player who has experience of the Champions League.
If we need it, then I'm sure Ranieri. I've got full trust in Ranieri. If he believes we need it, I'm sure we'll get it.
John, do you think Mr. Ranieri has shown enough energy and enough, excitement and enough will and enough, come on, we're going to build on this type attitude, to the fact that he's now managing the English League champions? You know, you're going to be playing perhaps Barcelona soon, not Sunderland.
Well, we're playing Barcelona in a couple of weeks in the International Cup. But
I mean in competition, obviously.
I know, I understand that, yeah. The thing is, we took Premiership by storm last year because everyone was expecting the top 4 to do what they do every year.
Exactly, but you won't be a surprise this year.
Well, we'll be surprised in Europe.
You may be a surprise in Europe, but I'm sure they'll have their eyes on you. But you won't be a surprise in the Premier League anymore.
When Vardy and Mahrez are bearing down, and Musa, our other striker, are bearing down on the Barcelona defence, they won't know what's hit them.
Have you got any worries? Have you got any worries, John, that between now and the end of the transfer window, that any more players will go?
No, I always thought Kante would go. He made it very clear he hadn't settled halfway through last season. The other one is Mahrez potentially, but he seems to have committed his future to us, and let's see what the future holds. I'm not expecting to win the Premiership. I wasn't expecting to win it last year.
Yeah, well, that's negative. I'm sorry, that's terribly negative, John.
No, John can be as negative as he likes.
No.
He's in the pole prime position of being the league champion.
Why aren't you down at your ground, banging on the door and saying, "Hey, come on, I want to hear a bit more. I want a bit more energy."
Because Leicester fans aren't like that.
I want to retain our Premier League title.
If I was to go down to the ground now and
there's nobody there at the moment, is there?
A crowd of people. I've been in amongst a crowd of people wanting to shake every single person's hand.
Well, there's nobody there. Don't go down there today, John, because they're all in America, I think. They're playing Celtic, I think, on Friday.
Yeah.
Or Saturday.
I'm sorry, John, but...
They're playing in a way.
Sorry, John, but I tell you what you're exhibiting. You're exhibiting...
I don't know why you're giving him such a hard time.
No, small fan mentality. And that's
a shocking thing to say.
And that is why Leicester are going to fall short of replicating their magnificent season, because what you're saying to yourself is,
now you're going too far.
I'm not too bothered about what this season brings. I'm just thankful for last season.
No.
Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
You put words in my mouth.
John, come on.
I didn't expect to win. I didn't expect to win last year, but I do expect to put on a good showing, and I think we'll turn a few heads in Europe.
I think you're right. John, I think you might well be right, but I think even you would admit that it's a slightly different situation now than it was this time last year.
Absolutely, yeah. This time last year we were fighting for our lives.
Yeah.
Well, or so we thought, and then ever since we buried that king in Leicester, we've lost 4 times.
Do you think you're still in shock? Do you think that's why you're behaving such an odd way?
I'm not behaving in an odd way. I'm celebrating at the success of our little club.
Well, I'll tell you what, below
our
Leicester
little club.
fans, yeah, exactly.
I'll leave John alone.
Club. But
Stop giving him a hard time.
There'll be a load of Leicester fans listening, John, who will recoil in horror at the lack of purpose, the lack of will, the lack of desire and ambition amongst Leicester fans, exhibited by yourself, I'm afraid.
How many titles have Everton won in the Premier League?
9.
Era?
Oh, not in the Premier League, but we've won 9 altogether, John, history.
Do you mean none?
Yeah, that don't count price of Premiership, does it?
Sorry?
I'm joking.
No, absolutely.
We'll do the jokes, John.
We are Premier League champions, and we will behave like Premier League champions, and we'll defend our champions.
You're not behaving like Premier League champions.
Leave them alone.
Well, they're not.
We've got other calls to take, you know.
Yeah, go on.
You've seen the time.
Yeah.
John, thank you very much indeed for your call. We've got loads more of calls to do. This is the Wix phone-in on TalkSport. We send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every day, as decided, of course, by Mr. Parry. Although I'm not sure that you're going to give it to the first caller there, but there's lots of other callers to take. We're also going to be talking about the whole situation at England, at Sunderland as well. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. There's going to be loads more calls to take. 08717 223344. A couple of people having something to say about that last caller. Luke says this. That caller battered Parry. Leicester play as a team. A massive marquee signing would distort the team ethic. And Scooby says Porky got tortured there by the Leicester fan.
No, I didn't.
I don't think so.
No, honestly, I didn't. I wasn't frazzled at all. Right. I felt a little bit harsh being as specific as I was towards a man who's clearly a devoted Leicester fan.
Absolutely right.
But I do think he's wearing rose-tinted glasses at the moment about the effects of their Premier League win.
Well, we're going to hear from more Leicester fans coming up very shortly. First, though, we're going to go to John Norman, because he's up at Old Trafford, where England are preparing to take on Pakistan in the second test. John, a very good morning.
Good morning to you guys. Well, the news from the middle is that England have won the toss. That brings to an end a run from Alistair Cook and Misbah Haq, the Pakistani captain, of 4 toss is called correctly by the Pakistani to England's none. So that's a great boost for Alistair Cook. So England will bat first on this Old Trafford pitch. That promises a result. And the team news, the big team news, is that Adil Rashid does miss out. So just the one spinner for England and 2 changes from the side that lost at Lords. Anderson and Stokes coming back into the team in place of Finn and Ball. Still waiting to see whether Pakistan are unchanged. I expect them to be so. They really impressed at Lord's, but this is a chance for England to get back into this series. Your typical Old Trafford pitch, I think. Hard as rock to start with, and then it'll spin as it goes on. So there'll be good carry for the Seamers. It could be a vital toss for England to win, because it means they won't have to face Yasir Shah like they did at Lord's in the 4th innings. However, first things first, England need to bat better than they did at Lord's. Do that, and they'll be in good chance of winning this test and squaring things up with 2 to play. But the news is that England have won the toss and are going to have a bat at Old Trafford.
John, thank you very much indeed. That's John Norman. He's up at Old Trafford watching England-Pakistan, the 2nd test. We'll be hearing from him throughout the course of the show.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the phones in a moment. We're going to talk to Rob Tanner from the Leicester Mercury as well. How about this, though, from Scott, who's a West Ham fan. He says, how negative was that Leicester fan? I expect West Ham to finish top 4 this season.
Indeed.
We may not, but you must show ambition as fans.
Indeed.
Another text here, though. Can't believe what I'm hearing. Telling a Leicester fan he has small club mentality. What about Arsenal? Supposed to be a big club. Who have they signed? I don't see Wenger in the press with any passion talking about winning the league. Ludicrous, Porky.
Well, no, actually, funny enough, that was a debate you and I had before the show about, what is going on at Arsenal, who's going to be bang, 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 banging on the door at the Emirates and said, hey, anybody at home?
Yeah.
Somebody will soon.
Somebody will soon. Let's talk to Rob Tanner, who is, of course, with the Leicester Mercury. He might be able to tell us whether the club is disguising its ambitions, perhaps, and just not telling everybody what's going on. Rob, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Hi, Rob.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Now, Mr. Parry has just issued what you might regard as a rather amazing dictum, which is that, if Leicester City have Claudio Ranieri with no ambition to win the league again, they should be looking for another manager.
No, I think it's just Claudio's way of playing everything down and just protecting everybody from the weight of expectation, because it wasn't on them last year. They were unburdened by it. And look what they achieved. And I can imagine with the expectations rising following their title success, he's going to try and play it down even more. It's just a bit of mind games from Claudio. He's very good at it.
Well, you say that, Rob, and I appreciate that you know a lot more about the inner workings of the club than we do, so I'm not arguing with you there. But don't you think the fans on the back of, think about Cloughy when he won the title for Nottingham Forest, right? He went on then and won 2 equivalents of the Champions League these days. I mean, Leicester don't look as though they're even in the mood to want to attempt that.
Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
Right, go on then.
It's a very ambitious club, but they don't sing their own praises very much publicly. They never have under Nigel Pearson, and they don't do under Claudio. If Claudio Ranieri comes out and says, we're going for the title again, it'll be totally out of character, and people will be wondering what on earth's going on. Because all the way through last season, all he kept saying, right up until the end, was 40 points, 40 points, 40 points. When he got to 40 points, it was just like, let's try and finish in the top half. Then it was try and finish in the Europa League spots. And it was only right at the end, after the West Ham game, when he said, now we're going for the title.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was only once they more or less guaranteed top 4 that he said we'd like to finish in the top 4, and I get that. But at the same time, you have to say, Rob, and I said this to the Leicester fan that was on earlier. Leicester is a slightly different position this season now than they were the same time last year, because they are going into the Champions League. A couple of people have been tweeting me saying, they've already got Ahmed Musa coming in from CSKA Moscow. He's got Champions League experience. They haven't got a sort of they're not bringing in somebody in who's been in the Champions League sort of latter stages and can tell them how to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But they didn't have anybody in the side really, except for Robert Huth, that had won a title before last season. So they are all learning together, and that's one of the secrets of this squad. They've been together a long time now, and it took them a couple of years to get out of the Championship. Then obviously they needed the Great Escape to stay in the Premier League. They're learning as they're going along, and I think if Ranieri come out and made a bold statement like from the very start, we're going to try and defend. Well, they are going to try and defend their title, but if he says we're going to go for the title again, he's going to put a lot of pressure on those boys, and they're all learning at a different rate. So. All coming along together, so I think that'd be unwise for Ranieri to make such bold statements.
OK, but Rob, interpret to us then how you read the leaving of Steve Walsh. Steve Walsh is with the English Premier League champions. Yeah. He's decided to leave because he's going to Everton, and he says, and I quote you, "I'm proud and privileged to become director of football at such a fantastic and historic club. With a new manager, a new major shareholder, it feels like a new era here at Everton, and that's very exciting." I mean, he's just come from the champions, and he's saying Everton are presenting...
But he's going as director of football, so it's quite a substantial sort of up
Everton
the ladder, isn't it?
presenting a more exciting challenge to him.
Guys, I've just spoken to Steve literally half an hour ago, and he's explained his decision to me. And it's basically because it's a big promotion for him. This role has basically been created at Everton by him. Also, his family home is up in that area as well, and he's been living away from home for a long, long time. So it's an opportunity for him, A, to spend more time with his family, and also take on a fantastic change, a new role made just for him. The director of football's job is not available at Leicester City. It is at Everton, so he's taking it. It's a career path for him.
Shouldn't they have created a job for him to keep him happy at Leicester? If he was part of the winning team, you know, this massive, fantastically successful winning combination of manager, coach, talent spotter, I suppose is what Steve was. Shouldn't they have created a role for him?
Well, Leicester City have already got a director of football and a director of football operations. You're in trouble of being, top heavy, and everybody tripping over each other. There wasn't a vacancy for Steve to move up at Leicester City. Okay. He's a fantastic servant for the club, and the club wanted to keep him. But unfortunately, you can't stand in somebody's way when they've got a career path ahead of them. And he's said he's very excited by the job at Everton. He wouldn't have left for any other job. This is a fantastic job for him. It's a fantastic opportunity for him. But you can't hold people back.
Okay, mate. Well,
I'd have to say that I agree with you in some ways, Rob. That Claudio Ranieri only has one way of operating, and even if you were to say that he was deliberately kind of underplaying everything, basically that's the only way he knows how to do it, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the players appreciate that as well. If you speak to the players, they won't get ahead of themselves. They're quite a grounded group, so I think they'll just continue the way that they've been working.
And I mean, does it look to you like there aren't going to be any big name signings coming in then? And more importantly for Leicester fans, that there aren't any other people leaving?
Well, it's strange, isn't it, how things can change so quickly in a week. I mean, they've literally broke the club transfer record twice in a week with Nampalys Mendy and then Ahmed Musa, and everybody was euphoric, especially with Jamie Vardy staying. And then they lose N'Golo Kante and Steve Walsh, and people are all doom and gloom again. Leicester City will not lose any more players, I'm told, by Claudio Ranieri. He says Mahrez will stay. They won't sell any more that they don't want to sell, and they're still active in the market. So there might be a couple more coming in before the transfer window closes as well.
Okay. All right, Rob.
All right, Rob.
Thank you very much indeed.
I hope your team finish second next season.
Rob Teller from the Leicester Book. How do you know what his team is?
His team's Leicester.
How do you know that?
Because he wrote a book called The Leicester City Story.
Oh, okay.
How to Beat the Odds and Become Premier League Champions, and it was published 5 days after they won the title.
Oh, okay.
So I would say he's pretty much...
But does it say he's a Leicester fan, though?
He is a Leicester fan.
Is he?
Did you listen to his accent? It
Yeah.
was pure Leicester.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know what his last job was?
Well, your accent is not pure Liverpudlian, is it?
Well, I'm not from Liverpool, that's why.
But you support Everton.
Yeah, of course I do,
So where's the argument?
Yeah. No, his last job was Leicester Mercury's chief football writer.
Yeah.
I get the feeling he could, and he's a boy from Leicester.
Yeah.
And
So
he
you're
wrote a book called The Leicester City Story.
So you're assuming he's a Leicester fan, then?
I know he's a Leicester fan.
You may be right, but I'm not sure if that is the case.
Well, do you want to ring him back and ask him?
Yeah,
just to clarify this.
I think we should do that.
Okay.
Because we've got lots of other calls to take. Don't forget.
Have you been on the caffeine or something?
Caffeine, yeah. I've got some tea here.
Must have been.
Yeah, people are asking if you've been on the Benelin, actually, asking some of the questions you've been asking.
No.
People can't quite believe that you're asking to get rid of Ranieri.
Well, I think it's a very sensible and bold theory.
Is Parry on the Benelin? What a mad windbag. Hashtag Ranieri. This is Talk Sport.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up. And of course, don't forget, this is the Wix phone-in, and we send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every single day, as decided by Mike Porky Parry. Although, there are some of you out there suggesting that Mr. Parry's mental capacity may be in question for some reason. Mark says this: sack Ranieri, Porky needs turning off and back on again. He's malfunctioning.
No, I'm not malfunctioning. If you think about it, it'd be absolutely ruthless, right? But if the people who now own and run Leicester City are really thinking, how do we take the revolution on? It's the only logical step.
No, it's not logical.
It is the only logical step.
Because what you're actually asking them to do is to completely upset the apple cart by getting rid of the guy who's driving the apple cart.
Yeah, well, yes, but he's driven it very cleverly.
He has.
He's driven it very cleverly by not making too many changes to the apple cart he inherited.
Yes.
When he inherited the apple cart, right,
there were a couple of rotten apples on it.
There were a couple of rotten apples he threw out, and he got a few new apples in. But basically, the man who had farmed the crop of apples in the back of the apple cart, right, had done a pretty blinking good job.
It's true.
And he'd sprayed them with that stuff that stops apples from rotting.
Wax?
No, it's not wax. It's called something else, Smart Freeze or something.
I don't know.
Something like that.
You don't think you're taking the apple thing too far, Larry?
No, I'm not. I'm not. What I'm saying is now the apple cart needs a fresh crop.
Yeah.
Not a totally new fresh
Well,
crop.
you don't want to get a fresh crop of apples. You need a new driver, is what you're saying.
You need a new driver to replenish the crop of apples.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, let's take some more calls. Fitzroy is a Leicester fan. Fitzroy, a very good morning to you.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, pretty good.
What would you like to say, man?
I just find it ridiculous that after Claudio Ranieri did what he did for Leicester last season, to even contemplate sacking him. It's just ridiculous.
Why?
Yeah, because he won the league. He done something for Leicester.
Yeah.
What will probably be never done again, or no other team will probably do it again.
Yeah.
In this era, and for you to say to sack him just because he said he's not going to win the league straight away, he's being realistic. He might win the league, but he's not saying he's good. He's going to come out and say, "I'm going to win the league" over Manchester City, Man U, all of these teams. And for you to say for him to go for a manager like Simeone, come on.
Well, hang on. I mean, what about Manchester United, Fitzroy? You know, I know that these two things.
Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
He's almost in the Champions League final every year. He's got a quality team.
Yeah.
Why would he go to Leicester?
Well, because Leicester are in the Champions League for the first time. A lot of these guys like a challenge. They won the league against all the odds.
Yeah.
He would probably bring a few very, very key players with him. The bottom line is, Fitzroy, what is any different? Hang on a second. Fitzroy, calm down a second and just have a listen to what I'm saying. I don't agree with Mike Parry about sacking Ranieri, but how is it that much different from Manchester United sacking Louis van Gaal after he won the FA Cup?
Because he only won the FA Cup and he spent like 300 million.
Yeah, okay. Well, how is it different to Real Madrid sacking their manager after they won the Champions League?
Exactly.
Which they've done.
Because they are Real Madrid and we are Leicester.
Well, of course, but you need to start thinking like Real Madrid,
Exactly right.
You need to start thinking like Juventus and Barcelona.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We need to keep thinking like Leicester.
No, you don't.
What wins the league? We need.
I'll tell you what.
We want £50 million players.
But you can't keep feigning. Yeah, but Fitzroy, you can't keep feigning surprise and going, "Oh, look how well we're doing!
Yeah.
Oh, look, amazing, we've won the league again."
It's not a surprise. It's just like you said. You don't rock the boat. You don't upset the apple cart.
It's the apple cart you don't upset.
What he's doing. You let him keep what he's doing. And if he's thinking he's buying players that are hard workers going to do well for the team and are not big heads, then that's what he'll do. Look at Klopp. That's what he does. A lot of people will not buy egos nowadays, and I don't think Leicester should buy any egos.
No,
They should
all
buy
right.
players who
Okay,
wanna
well,
work
we'll see
hard.
if it turns out to be the right way round. Let's look at Josh, who's an Arsenal fan,
Indeed.
because Arsenal don't believe in buying egos. They make them, don't they? Josh, very good morning to you.
Morning, how are you guys?
Yeah, good.
I heard you saying, after talking about the Leicester strategy, that there should be some Arsenal fans knocking on doors, and I can pretty much tell you there are tens of thousands that want to knock on the door because we don't know what the hell our transfer strategy is. I mean, we've been Gazidis has spoken for years about having cash in the bank and trying to compete with Bayern Munich on transfers, and all that's happened is our money's depreciated in the bank as players' values have appreciated.
Exactly.
And
it's like having your money in a pension fund and not buying a house, isn't it?
Correct. I work in property. It's exactly the same. And you're sitting there waiting for the right time, and you miss the boat. And clearly they know we need a striker. And you know what? We may well get one in. I'm happy to eat humble pie if we do.
Yeah.
But it's very predictable. And what often happens is we'll drop points like we have the seasons in the first couple of games.
Yeah.
We'll panic buy, and we'll end up spending more money than we could have done 2-3 months ago.
There's a sense of inactivity with your club. Inactivity is the word. What is going on? Who is stirring it up? Who's getting moving?
What is baffling? In fairness, I think we all like to blame Arsenal, and I'm someone who would change the manager, despite my respect for him. I think some of it's overboard. We have signed good players. I think El Neni was a good signing. We'll see more of that this year. Obviously, Sanchez, Ozil were all signings, but we're always short. And it seems at the detriment of ourselves because we clearly wanted a striker and need a striker, hence why we went for Jamie Vardy. It didn't work. That was, 6 weeks ago? What's the plan been since? And, the worst thing that happened is we would have bought a striker a year or 2 years ago, whether it be Higuain, whoever we were linked with. And if you had to overpay, you had to overpay. What's happened is players we could have bought for 30 million 2 years ago are now 50 million.
Yeah. Yes.
And so that money sitting in the bank is killing us because look at West Ham, look at Liverpool, look at them spending 30, 40 million pound on players.
Sure.
You know, Liverpool bought Benteke, and he hasn't had a great season. He hasn't done well, but I can guarantee you they can get the same money back for him.
Probably.
So why have we not done the same? It just baffles me. We're going to be playing Liverpool and Leicester, two good teams, and at the moment our options are Theo Walcott, who hasn't delivered bar maybe 1 or 2 seasons in 10 years, and Yaya Sanogo. Let's not even go there.
Right. And isn't it awkward as well, Josh, that every single year, and it's not necessarily, it would probably not be right to say it's always around the time that season tickets are renewed, but every single year there's another promise of money being spent, there's a promise of a new strategy being brought in. You know, sometimes it's because the stadium money's all been paid off, other times it's because there's been a profit made here or there or everywhere. You know, but it's still the same years, everything goes on the same way.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day every year, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, they've gone as far to sign players just as the transfer renewals come out the last couple of years. This year it was Xhaka. Last year it was Czech. We get all excited and, you know...
I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that people who, you know, want Arsene Wenger to move on didn't use last season as the perfect example, because you could have said, without any disrespect to Leicester, hang on, Arsene, OK, so we've lost out on the title to massive clubs over the last decade, but we just lost out to a little club this year. Leicester were a little club before they became the Premier League champions, and Arsenal were in prime position to sneak in there whilst the so-called rest of the Big Four were falling apart.
I totally agree. I mean, last year was clearly a mistrick, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
If that didn't show us up, I don't know what did, because Leicester, Atletico over the last few years, Portugal, it's been proven that money obviously helps, don't get me wrong. If you're Pep and Mourinho, be able to spend £100, £2 million, that's great. It does give you an advantage. But I think what people seem to forget is most Arsenal fans, and I'm sure there are some unbearable ones, don't ask to spend 40, 50, 60 million pound on a striker. I didn't care if we signed Jamie Vardy for 20 million pound, if that's who Wenger thought it was. But what we often do is, if we can't get that one player, we don't sign anyone.
Well, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
very good point.
That's the problem. Josh, thanks very much indeed. We're just going to try and squeeze one more in. Mark is a Liverpool fan. Mark, very good morning to you.
Morning, boys.
Yeah, hello,
very
Mark.
well.
What would you like to say?
Porky, you don't half make me laugh, mate.
Well, hang on, I'm a serious broadcaster.
Yeah, you like that mad uncle that looks like Teen Wolf's dad, and he don't get invited to many family gatherings because he winds everybody up after so long.
And what would you like to say to us?
To be fair, I agree with some of your points. So agree with the earlier caller. Leicester City will obviously want to go to the next level.
Yes.
Sacking Ranieri won't achieve that. It won't make no difference.
I think it would.
No, Leicester City are still, no disrespect to Leicester City, a small club. Now, say, for instance, Leicester City have got the money. They offer €100 million for Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Manchester United offer the same wages. Where do you think Paul Pogba would choose to go?
Well, of course he'd go to United.
Exactly, because they're a bigger club. The problem Leicester are going to have is keeping hold of the players that put them in the position of champions.
Yeah.
And they've already lost one. If they lose Mahrez, I can't see him finishing top 6.
But if Diego Simeone had turned up, as my colleague MG suggested, that would have been a massive statement of intent from the Leicester board to say, we're going to build a citadel on top of these foundations we've created. Instead of which, they just seem to be powder puffing off, you know, all inquiries for their players.
Mark, thanks very much indeed. We're going to leave it there. I'll tell you what is worrying me more than anything else that has worried me all of this week.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think you're actually making some sense.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's very worrying indeed. This is Talk Sport. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the two Mikes. We're in for Colin Murray. We're in next week as well, of course. We've been talking about Leicester in the first hour. Mike Parry thinks that it's a good idea for them to sack Claudio Ranieri if they want to really maintain their ambitions and make another tilt at the Premier League title, and indeed the Champions League as well. Coming up, we'll be talking about McLaren supercars. They bring out a new one. John Norman will keep us updated on the cricket. 08717 223344. Also, Porky Quiz Day today as well, and the quiz is on Formula 1. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes.
Yeah, can I tell you, Mike? I go so far back with Everton that I remember as a child when Liverpool won the Football League in 1964. Liverpool had such a barren spell for the previous, sort of 20, 30 years. Everybody said, "Oh, it's a one-off."
Yeah.
Everybody said it's a one-off. The Merseyside Millionaires Everton will overtake them. Manchester United will overtake them.
Right.
Sheffield Wednesday will overtake them.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Right.
And the only reason Liverpool are what they are today is because they built on that first season success.
Right.
And created a giant of a football club. And that's what Leicester have got to do.
But isn't that what Rob Tanner was saying? Just because it doesn't appear as if they're doing that, don't make the mistake of thinking that they're not. And Claudio Ranieri and the way that they operate is rather sort of, shall we say, not sly would be the wrong word, but sort of, very, very sort of cautiously going ahead quite quietly.
Well, by contrast, Bill Shankly was the biggest personality I think we've ever had in football. And he actually talked Liverpool into being a big and great club.
Yeah.
He told everybody they were.
Yeah.
He told the fans that they were.
Right.
He told the world that they were. And everybody started believing it.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is Claudio Ranieri, to me, doesn't seem to be cashing in good enough on A, success, and B, the feel-good factor.
But that's not his way. How about this from Jamie, who says, never thought if Leicester City went and spent money and sacked managers, they could be the new Leeds United or Blackburn Rovers, which is a good point to make. Now, let's talk to Steve. He's a Nottingham Forest fan. He's got a view on Leicester, of course, as you might expect.
He has.
Steve, very good morning to you.
How you doing? All right.
Yeah, pretty
what
good,
do you want to say?
Let me talk honestly. I bear no resentment to Leicester. I wanted them to win the league last year. They did. I'm not a blinkered Forest fan. We've had our days, but I don't understand the reaction to Mike Parry's comments. I think he's absolutely right. Leicester are champions of the Premier League. They need to be acting in that way, putting markers down, saying this is our intent. It'd be nice. Even if Ranieri doesn't come out and say it, why aren't the rumour mills saying Leicester have put £70 million in for Antoine Griezmann?
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, mate. And the point is, you knew you were going to be okay because you had a manager who was of genius mould, right? So you knew that maybe you weren't going to win the league again, but you had bigger fish to fry. You want to win the European Cup for 2 successive years.
Correct. And there's a point, though, with reference to Steve Walsh, we had 2 managers. One looked after the player, one did everything else. Clough and Taylor made Forest.
Yes, that's
so
true.
Steve Walsh was a strange decision.
Yes.
But do you sack Ranieri? I don't know. They're just not showing any of the. All the markers are being laid down in the northwest.
Yeah.
Instead of
from what it seems,
instead of Kante going to Chelsea, why aren't Leicester bidding for Eden Hazard?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. I think it's an interesting point. But Steve, I mean, from what Rob Tanner was telling us, the guy at Leicester, in the Leicester Mercury, there was that that doesn't seem to be their way. That they take the view that if they lose a player, they've got somebody else that can fill his place. If they lose Steve Walsh, somebody else can come along and do his job. They seem to think that they've built this machine.
I get that, but they're now. And being honest, they won the Premier League, fair play, absolutely fair play, but they're not a very, very good side. And now teams have sussed them, they've got to get players in to refresh that for next season, It's like you say, they're not going to go into Stadium Alliance Sunderland, they might be going to it in Porto, or they might be going to Barcelona, or they might be going to... They've got to put a marker down. And
I agree with you.
Stop off.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Funny enough, actually mentioning Sunderland there. I mean, what is happening there, by the way? Because David Moyes is not going. Sam Allardyce is or isn't going to England.
Well,
I mean, what's going on?
I'm reading a report.
You're the FA expert.
Well, hang on. I'm reading a report this morning. Louise Taylor in The Guardian, highly respected football writer. David Moyes is to replace Sam Allardyce at Sunderland, with his appointment expected swiftly once the outgoing manager's role in charge of him is confirmed.
Right.
She says it's a done deal.
Well, once the money's parted,
£2 million compensation or whatever. Right. But I tell you what, I'm really surprised David Moyes has taken that job.
Well, he hasn't had a job for a while, has he?
Well, I'm really surprised because David Moyes is a terrific manager. I mean, great manager. It obviously was an unfortunate experience at Manchester United, but he can still boss a top-four club.
What about Sociedad? He didn't do too well there either.
Yeah, but that's because he wanted to keep his hand in. He knew that he...
Yeah, but he didn't do any good there, is what I'm saying.
But he went and widened his experience by working as a European manager on the continent, and that was part of his learning curve.
So you're saying he should stay out of work rather than take a job at Sunderland?
I'm saying that at Sunderland you've got a minimal chance of winning things.
You okay?
Yeah, I am. But I mean, that is the truth of the matter.
Well, you're not going to win anything. You're not going to win anything. I mean, winning something in terms of Sunderland is staying in the Premier League. I mean, that's about all you can hope for.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I thought David Moyes would go to a club where silverware was a distinct possibility. and I don't think it is at Sunderland, with the greatest respect to them.
Well, Sunderland fans are already battered and bruised. I don't think you want to start battering them anymore today.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Ian, who's an Arsenal fan.
Indeed.
Ian, good morning to you.
Hi there.
Yeah.
Hi. Obviously, I don't. I'm going to wait till the end of the transfer market for my club, Arsenal, to see what happens. I'm not going to denigrate them at the moment.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? Probably nothing, right?
Getting on to Leicester.
Yeah.
You said, the other Mike said it there. Not you, Porky, but the other Mike.
Yeah.
He said they're doing it the Leicester way. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. Tell me if Vardy was a marquee signing before he went to Leicester. What about Mahrez? I don't know where he came from because I'm not a Leicester fan, but I'm sure he wasn't as well known as then as he was now.
That's true.
No, of course not. And the other point.
But the situation last year will never be replicated. Certainly not this year, because now everybody knows Leicester, and also Leicester are the champions. So you know, they need to take a slightly different mindset into the next season, don't they?
Yeah, true. But Porky, your murder this morning. Really, I think that all the other teams, and who's to say all the other teams that didn't? No, okay, it didn't say that, but
we haven't passed an opinion on.
They're not the outfit ready.
Yeah.
They're not the full outfit ready for the Champions League.
I just think they've got to build on the feel-good factor, and it seems to me at the moment they are not building on the feel-good factor, and that's largely because I think their manager is adopting the same attitude as last year. Oh, I don't want to get too ambitious. Well, you need to get ambitious now. It's a totally different landscape to the one it was last year. You're the champions.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I just think you might be surprised to see the ambition. It's just hidden below the surface.
It's hidden very well.
It is hidden very well, a bit like your own. This is the Wix phone-in, of course, on TalkSport. We send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every day, as decided by the ultimate man in fairness, that is Mike Porky Parry. This is TalkSport. England-Pakistan, the second test underway up at Old Trafford. John Norman's watching it for TalkSport. John?
4 overs gone, Mike. England 16 without loss. No dramas just yet. Both batsmen are off the mark. 2 boundaries for Alistair Cook and 1 for Alex Hales. And no real pace on show. This track is famous for having a bit of seam, bit of bounce and a bit of carry. But these openers looking okay as it stands. It does look like a good toss to win, although we do know that Pakistan's bowling gets better as the ball gets older. Earlier, England left out Adil Rashid, so they've gone into the match with just the 1 spinner in Moeen Ali. Pakistan unchanged. We've had 4 overs, England 16 without loss.
Thanks very much indeed, John. We'll be checking back in with John Norman throughout the course of the show, naturally. Now, coming up a little bit later on in this show, Porky Quiz time it is, and of course, because of the Hungarian Grand Prix this weekend, the quiz is going to be on Formula One.
It definitely
is. We've got a somewhat Formula One related story
we certainly
right
have.
now, because McLaren Automotive, as they're known, just a company of the Formula One team. I've got a new supercar coming out, Porky. Now, I don't know whether you fancy having one of these. I know you've spoken in the past about your dream car being an Aston Martin.
Definitely.
But I don't know if you could even drive one of these, because they're incredibly difficult to drive, these cars. But let's talk to Jim Holder, who's the editorial director of Autocar, who can tell us a little bit more about it. Jim, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Yes, we're talking about a £2 million hypercar, so,
Now, I mean, when you run a magazine like you do, and a sort of a car business, I suppose, as it were, I mean, do they actually lend you these cars to drive around in? Do you ever get a chance to have a go at one behind the wheel?
Yeah, quite often we're fortunate enough to be lent the cars to assess and give our verdicts on, so we tend to get a bit of time with all of them.
That must be terrifying.
Well, obviously, if it's a high-end car, it tends to be lent to the guys who've had the most training. Terrifying is one word, usually quite exhilarating as well. Pretty special cars.
Yes, certainly are. The thing is, Jim, it may just be me, but we're all dazzled by supercars when you hear the word supercar. But I seem to hear a new supercar being launched every 2 years. You know what I mean? What is so distinctive about this one? I know it goes from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. I know it's got a 3.8 litre engine with 700 horsepower. I know it goes at 200 miles an hour. But there have been cars developed who do all that already, haven't there?
They have, and we're lucky in Britain that we have a lot of the sports car makers based here, and they do bring out a succession of brilliant but slightly different cars. This one is particularly different. It's a three-seater, for starters, and that invokes the seating pattern of the original McLaren F1 road car, which is usually credited alongside the Mini with being one of the most iconic British-built cars ever.
Right.
So it has this three-seat layout. It's going to be part.
That's 3 seats across the front, so to speak, is it?
Yeah. So the driver sits in the middle. And
Oh, right.
That's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that is, yeah. So the driver sits in the middle, you've got a girlfriend on your right and maybe a girlfriend on your
wife
left.
on the left.
Yeah, left, yeah, it looks pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good car for anyone who wants to travel long distances, has perhaps more than one person they want to take with them. They're calling it a Hyper GT, so it's going to be the fastest car from point to point.
Yeah.
And they're only going to build 64 of them, so if you want to order one, you better get in there quickly. But it's going to cost you £2 million.
Yeah. And is it the case, I mean, most of the time when you see these types of cars, it's around sort of Knightsbridge, where all these, very wealthy people park them and sometimes get them clamped and that kind of thing, and they drive them around, the streets of Chelsea, etc. Will most of these 64 cars be sold to export to places like Dubai and China?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure there'll be a good mix in there, but I think what makes this car particularly special is it is a homage in many ways to the original car that was built just over 20 years ago. So it's going to go to collectors. It's going to go to people who really love the McLaren brand and who already own several McLarens. And I hope it's going to be treasured because of that. It is something quite special. It's not for everyone, but 64 cars, ultra bespoke, ultra unique in the way they're going to be styled. The owner will be able to pretty much detail everything they want to their own specification. So it's going to be something to be treasured. But yeah, I'm sure some will come to this country, some will go around the world. McLaren is an international business now with fans around the world because of its Formula One association.
Okay, Jim, can you give us some sort of estimate, please, if possible, of what it would cost to insure that car? It's worth £2 million. How would you get an insurance policy for it, and how does that work?
Yes, great question. I think if you own this car, you're more than likely to own a garage full of many, many cars. So I suspect you're going to have a very expensive multi-car policy.
Yeah.
With a huge excess. I mean, talking from our experience, and obviously, as I say, we get to test all cars and have to have a policy that covers everything.
Yes.
Normally that comes with a £5,000 excess, even if we're unlucky enough to curb a wheel while parking it, the wheel normally costs more than £5,000, so it can be a pretty expensive business. You have to be pretty careful with them. But I would imagine the policy itself is going to cost tens of thousands of pounds, if not more.
Yeah, it would have to be that, wouldn't it? And I mean, without wishing to intrude on any private grief or anything, I mean, have you or any of your guys actually written one of these cars off?
No, thankfully, but I'm touching wood as I say this. We've had our share of incidents, but all of them have been minor, thankfully, to date. So yeah, fingers crossed it won't be in this one £2 million car. We'll try and dent the slightly cheaper ones.
That's true. But Jim, am I mistaken in thinking it was either this or a similar car that the Mr. Bean actor
Rowan Atkinson
did actually write one of these off, didn't he? Or certainly had a repair bill of I think it was in excess of £1 million, which is a record for an insurance policy claim.
That's absolutely right. Rowan Atkinson was lucky enough to be one of the 64 owners of the original road car, the iconic McLaren F1. And he was famous for owning it, and he is a famous car enthusiast. He loves his cars, and he actually drives them. But yes, he had a big accident, and he did write it off. The £1 million bill ultimately was well worth paying, though, because I think he's now sold the car for around £7 or £8 million.
I see.
And typically, the original F1s do go for around the £10 million mark now if they're in great condition. So.
Amazing.
That's why they cost so much.
It is.
I'm just one last question, Jim. I mean, if, for example, you were to take one of these cars out onto the road, I mean, it's very, very difficult to even think about where you could park it or where you could leave it. And I mean, as far as the three-seater thing goes, and I know this might sound like a daft question, but they're so well balanced, these cars. I mean, if you only had one passenger,
on one side,
would it make a difference to how the car drives?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are engineered with huge precision, so the weight distribution particularly is important. Now, I think you're going to have to be a sort of Formula One style driver to really notice the difference between having a passenger on one side and not on the other.
Yeah.
But it would change it, and you're right that a car like this is not necessarily one to be plonking around the centre of London in or whatever.
Right. But and if one was of a I don't wish to cast aspersions on my broadcasting partner here. If one was of a rotund nature, can you get in the car?
Well, they say so. It's very deliberately going to be engineered with GT ports in mind, so it will cross countries easily. It should be accessible. It should have some passenger space. But the idea of clambering over a seat to get in the central one has never been as simple as it might sound initially. So maybe start the diet now, and when the car's sold in 2018, you'll be ready for it.
Yeah,
indeed.
Good idea. Jim, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much indeed.
Jim Holder there, editorial director of Autocar. Perhaps not the car for us, Mr. Parry.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Unless there was there was the three of us.
No.
We could sort of arrive in places in a McLaren.
But I agree with you. The terrifying thought of driving that car in London,
Yeah.
where, you could get somebody just bash into you in the back. And these cars are so brilliantly engineered, you can write a car off in a 15 mile an hour shunt.
Just all going over a speed bump.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I've seen a guy in a Lamborghini scrape the Lamborghini on top of a speed bump.
Yeah,
and you just think, that's horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Just horrible.
Yeah.
We are the Two Mics. We're in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. Get 40% off Wix 12-inch oscillating desk fan. It was $19.99. Now it's only $11.24.
Rio preview on TalkSport. Brought to you by Strongbow. Let's own it.
The games in Rio are fast approaching, so Colin Murray's been looking back at some memorable moments with Steve Bunce.
Thanks, guys. Our daily look ahead to Rio 2016, and as Henry Kelly once said, today we are going for gold. Steve Bunce is with me, and I've charged you, Steve, with finding 3 lesser talked about shoe-ins to be standing at the top of the podium at Rio 2016, hearing their national anthem played. So at no stage to me can you say, right now, Colin, I think Mo Farah would be the first choice. If you say that, I will attack you across the table. If you say Nicola Adams, I'm gonna do an Adams shuffle as I catch you in the edge of the
USA
chin.
for basketball. If I say something like that, that's not allowed.
You're out the door.
No way, brother.
Where are you going first?
I'm going to go first, okay, with the one that you might go, yeah, I would have got that. But I'm only going to go because one thing I like about the Olympics, and this will be about my 9th Olympics, is I like excellence.
Yeah.
I like consistency. I like a team that can put it together in an event that matters. And hockey, men's hockey.
That's an Olympic sport.
There we go. That's an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a World Championships or a World Cup. It's a World Cup, it turns out. But you don't even know, do you? So you don't know if the European Championships is called the European Championships or the European Cup.
You're right. But
give
me a bit of Sean Curley.
Absolutely,
I'm yours
baby.
forever.
I'll give you Germany. They've won the last 2 years. They've won the last 2 World Cups. They are, let's get it right. I'm not joking. They're in fine form. I'll give you the men. German men will win the gold medal, okay? That's one. And if you're listening, you're going, well, I kind of know that. I saw them in London. They were dominant. Now I'm going to give you one now that's absolutely banged on, nailed on. This is one of those certs that guys whisper to you when you go to the racing at Kempton.
Yeah.
You know, when they whisper in your ear. And it's about 16-1 generally.
Yeah.
And you're half tempted. It never comes in. Well, I'm not whispering, I'm hollering. 75 kilos, middleweight, boxing, okay?
Yeah.
Not the men, the woman. A girl called Claressa Shields.
Claressa Shields.
At 17 years of age.
She's 17.
She was 17 in London.
Everyone was.
She won gold in London at 17, okay? Since London, she's won the last 2 World Women's Championships. She goes into this unbeaten since about the March of 2012. She's untouchable. She might just have a poke. She might just have a chance at being called the world's finest female athlete.
Wow.
Here's a woman. If she wins the gold here, that'll be 2 gold medals, 2 World Championships in a 4-year cycle, untouched, and still only 21.
Unbelievable.
I'm putting her up, and I'll give you a geezer, and I'll give you a big league geezer. There's one thing I like about the weightlifting. Okay, it's the most amazing spectacle. You cannot believe it. You don't think it's going to be good until you get there and you find yourself kissing an Estonian or a Latvian or a Lithuanian, because those are the big weightlifting countries.
What do you mean kissing them?
In the crowd? No one sits down.
In the crowd?
They all stand.
Right, okay.
They all stand and go, it's chaos, it's madness. Yeah. Especially when one guy comes out, they've been lifting all day, and as he comes out, each time he comes out, he's got more tape on him.
Yeah.
Where he's burst muscles and blown blood vessels. So he comes out, he's taped up, he can barely walk.
Yeah.
And he comes out, and he just bends over the bar, and he does the lift, and he throws his shoes out, and they've got weights on them. They hit you on the head, you're dead. Not dead, but you're severely injured.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They traditionally throw the shoes out into the crowd.
Wow.
So I'll give you...
Keep your eyes on the weightlifter all the time.
I'll give you the Georgian. He's 22 years of age, which for a top weight, 105 plus kilos, that's a lump of weight.
But he doesn't look 22,
No, I bet he doesn't.
He's older.
You know what? His name is Lashi Talakhadze. Lashi Talakhadze, 22 years of age, 105 plus kilos. Now, he's not one of those big fat former Soviet guys.
Yeah.
He's more solid.
Yeah.
You know, he's not like those guys that you see, remember in the 60s and the 70s. They had those ridiculous, you think they were 10 months pregnant.
Is he more cut like a steak?
It's a fattish steak, but it's not a vulgar steak.
Like a sirloin steak.
So, I give you the Germans, I give you Lashy Talakadze, and I give you Clarissa Shields.
Well, I hope one of them doesn't come through. I'm all right if Clarissa
all three
delivers. All three going to come through.
Guaranteed.
I hope the Germans don't win the hockey. They will, but I think they will. But no, there's been so much money's put into GB hockey and effort more than money. You know, all to live in the same area. It's been a lot being done over the last 8 years or so. Yes. And I, you know, my favourite Olympic commentary of all time, Barry Davis.
Yes.
War with the Germans. Frankly, who cares?
Yeah. Long time ago, though, 88, bruv.
But the reason why that team did so well was because the English football team had failed in '88. They were seen as failures, and they were seen. That was when a disconnect started to happen a little bit, and people were crying out for a male British team to get by. And all of a sudden, here were these guys who had normal jobs, who nobody was tipping. And they went out and they did that. Curley and Shawani and all those players. And we remember them even now. Yeah. It's ridiculous. The names still stay with us. I'm going to throw a few more at you, I think, as shoe-ins for goal. I'm going to throw two at you, and they work really closely together, but one tends to get more credit than the other, because one of them is called Vallegro, and the other one's called Charlotte de Jourdain. And they won last time, and I think they're going to win again. I would definitely buy Vallegro's a horse for those people that don't watch the Olympics. Some obvious ones for you as well. We're going to be despite all of the ups and downs within British cycling and the Sutton fallout and everything else as well. There'll be gold. It'll rain gold there as well, because they train to be ready for that moment. Forget all results you see leading up to it. They will use major events as nothing more than a stepping stone to be ready on the day. British cycling has always done that, so from Wigo to Trot, look out for that. Glover and Stanning, maybe the best. We always love a rowing gold, a good British rowing gold. So I'm thinking Glover and Stanning probably worth giving a shout to defend their title, although I don't know what we're having. I haven't done enough research in the rowing front, if I'm being honest.
They're still winning.
But you want me to give you an unlikely one?
Yeah, go on.
And you'll go, who? Or whatever. But it's a guy called Giles Scott. And Giles Scott has lived in the shadow of Ben Ainslie for a long time.
What a shadow. Is that the biggest shadow in sport? Ben Ainslie. It's the biggest shadow in sport.
Yeah, I think it probably is. And I think that Giles Scott, look out for him to reign supreme in the water. I think he'd probably be in the Finn class, because he actually nearly made it at London 2012 ahead of Ben Ainslie, just missed out in the Finn class. So whatever class he's in, whatever boat he's in, honestly, if he gets in the type of boat you see down the local park, with a couple of oars that you take a girl out when you're looking to impress her, he'll still win.
Let me tell you something. Ben Ainslie, right, if it flooded, Ben Ainslie would get us on this bench, all three of us, to Soho to pick up supplies, and then we'd take off for the south coast. He'd do it in 3 hours, and we wouldn't even have wet feet. And that's on this bench. That's how good he is.
And that bizarre interlude. That's the end of our daily look ahead to Rio 2016. Back to you guys.
Rio preview on Talk Sport. Brought to you by Strongbow. Let's own it.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. The Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on. We've got to do Watch of the Day as well. A fascinating timepiece that Mr. Parry has brought us in today, which I no doubt has a story as well. Let's go back quickly, though, to Old Trafford, find out how the cricket's going with John Norman.
England 35 for 1. They've got their two best batsmen at the crease in Joe Root and Alistair Cook, and these two just need to see off on Mohamed Amir, who's bowling absolutely brilliantly. Cook 25 and Root is 4 not out. These two coming together after the dismissal of Alex Hales. Mohamed Amir clean bowling the opener, 2 balls after seeing him dropped in the gully. Brilliant bit of bowling, really set the batsman up, and Hales has got a little bit of a problem there that he needs to correct. So Pakistan with an early inroad. This after England won the toss in Manchester, decided to bat first. They're 35 for 1.
Thanks very much indeed, John. We'll keep you updated on that, of course, as well. A couple of people expressing some surprise that you were not offered the Director of Football's job at Everton on Twitter, but I think they may be being slightly tongue-in-cheek.
Of course I'm being tongue-in-cheek. I'm not an expert in football management in the sense of, I've never been a professional footballer, but I do know when I think a setup is being constructed properly, and it is at Everton, and I don't think Leicester are doing enough.
Yeah, Jack H says this, Porky put LSD instead of sweetener in his tea this morning, off-the-scale madness.
No, No, it's not madness. One here, James, says, what are you doing talking about David Moyes in the way you are? Lucky to get any Premier club after failing at United, and if Leicester can win trophies, who's to say Sunderland can't? Well, I do believe that the field is wide open now. I do believe clubs like West Ham and Everton should be ambitious to win the Premier League this season.
Well, I mean, you may say that, but I mean, a lot of people are pointing out that, Portugal win the Euros, Leicester win the league. It was just one of those weird years. It'll never be repeated ever again.
Well, you say that, but I do believe that the mould has been smashed, both by the playing field being levelled at £100 million a year for every club, and also the fear factor. Fear factor's gone now. Just because Manchester United got players that cost 85, 90, £100 million doesn't make them, 10% better than the next team that comes along.
You may be right. Gary says this, can you tell Father Christmas that Panto season starts in late November? Sack Ranieri before the season starts? Hashtag madness.
I've got to tell you that one of the inquiries we've had recently was whether or not we wanted to play the Ugly Sisters in a panto. Yeah,
the answer's no.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Fine.
Now, listen.
By the way, I was watching Donald Trump's speech last night.
Yeah.
I got up in the middle of the night to watch it.
What do you think?
I thought that was part of my duty to the general populace. And he reminded me of you, actually.
In what respect?
Well, he kept, believe it or not, I said, believe it or not, he kept saying, believe me.
Believe
now, that's what
me,
you say all the time.
Do I?
And it's the most incongruous and meaningless phrase. Believe me, this is what's going to happen next. And then he kept saying, never ever. So instead of just saying, this will never happen again, never ever, it's the kind of thing the child would say. And
I'm not sure what you mean by that, but anyway.
Well, what do you mean? Not sure what I mean by?
Well, I don't know. I'm not the potential
you should have watched
president
as
of
part,
the United States.
I know you're not, but as part of your research, you should have been watching it.
Well, I know plenty about it. Now, listen, we talk a lot of sport in this show. We talk a lot of what's going on. But no, I have found. I'm so excited. I want to share something with you. I found from my natural science journals. Okay?
Natural science.
Yeah, this is an incredible discovery.
Is that like sort of biology or something?
Well, it's about. This is actually about the sea. And animals in the sea, whales and dolphins, okay?
In the sea.
I found this in my journal of mammalogy.
Really?
Yeah, and do you know what I've discovered?
What have you discovered?
I'm really excited about this.
Go on.
Whales and dolphins and associated sort of creatures.
Mammals.
Well, no, but
mammals,
they are mammals, but these are whales and dolphins in particular. They live in schools and pods.
Yeah.
And do you know when one of their pod or one of their school die, do you know what they do?
They mourn them.
No, they organise funeral.
Do they?
They organise funerals. No, it's absolutely true.
Well, they put them in a box.
No, you idiot. Don't put them in a box. You can't have a box in the sea.
Well, you can.
And you're being disingenuous here. What they do is they absolutely gather round.
Yeah.
They get hold of the body of the expired one.
Yeah.
And they swim around with it. You know what I mean? And then take it. No, they do. They take it.
Right.
And they.
But do they bury it?
No, they place it. They take it instead of the body of their whale or their dolphin.
You call it the
mate,
loved one, if you like.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, just floating around in the sea forever, and will probably be eaten by
a shark.
By a shark or something like that. They find a cove or something like that, and then like the Vikings used to push a boat out. With a flaming,
like the longboats. Yeah.
Longboats, and they used to set fire to the pyre, the flaming funeral pyre.
Right, yeah.
They then know when to release the body or the carcass of their dead pal, and then it usually that's why you see we've discovered that's why you see whales and dolphins that are dead beached on beaches because they have actually been looked after.
They've been pushed towards the shore.
Yeah, they're pushed towards the shore.
Really?
Yeah. Honestly.
Well, how does that explain how you see live ones that have been beached? Then are they ones that have come back?
Well,
from the dead?
no, you idiot. Their sonars.
Well, you keep calling me an idiot.
Well, how can you?
How else can you explain it?
Mammals don't come back from the dead. What they do is they lose their sonar tracking, right? If they come up the Firth of Forth or something like that, and the water's not deep enough, the sonar goes all crazy.
Well, some people think they get confused by other signals, which might make them think that their sonar is working when in fact it's not.
It can happen. It happened in Portsmouth Harbour, where I live, because sometimes the signal's coming off the aircraft carrier, which isn't there anymore, of course, because Mr. David Cameron, the last Prime Minister, decided to scrap it.
He's not in charge anymore.
No, he's not in charge
anymore.
anymore.
For everything.
But
you see that submarine that got hit something
bashed
down in Gibraltar?
Yeah.
So now we know where it is.
Yes, and it was being driven by a trainee at the time.
Was it?
They were training the commander to command it. But they say that possible explanations of why the whales and the dolphins behave like this is hormonal behaviour the animals engaging in bonding sessions.
Well, they're very intelligent, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, accounts of whale and dolphin behaviour.
Do they mate for life as well, these mammals?
They do.
So probably the funeral's being led by the partner then.
Yeah, exactly. It says here that the behaviour reflects the strong social bonds in group living species where cooperation in acquiring food and raising offspring is critical for survival.
Yeah.
The bond, therefore, lasts for life and even into death.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's incredible.
Well, why is it incredible? I mean, you'd expect animals on land to do that, so why wouldn't you expect mammals in the sea
You
to
don't
do
expect animals on land to do it.
Yeah, you see animals. You see swans that mate for life. They mourn if their partner dies.
Yeah, but they don't organise funerals and wakes.
They probably do. Actually.
After a funeral, by the way, after they've dispatched it, they're
going to have a sing-song.
Well, no, but I mean, they go back into the sea and they do all swim around and they have what is called a wake.
Yeah.
They have to sort of flush out of their minds, the sadness and the despair of losing a member of their pod or their school.
Right.
I think that's amazing.
Well,
are you not
fascinated
amazed
by
with this?
No, not at all.
Why?
It comes as no surprise to me. Because they're very intelligent creatures, so you would expect them to do the kind of thing that we do.
A group of scientists intervened and removed a carcass that was being held by a dolphin who wouldn't let go. It was a vigil for the
Well,
lost
how can it
life
not
of
let
the
go?
corpse. Well, I don't know. I
You
don't
can't
know.
hold it with flippers, can you?
I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, but you can't hold on to it.
This happened near...
That's rubbish, that.
This happened near Hurghada.
Where?
Hurghada. It's
Where's
in the
that?
Red Sea.
Is it?
And a boat full of marine biologists saw an adult Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin swimming and pushing a smaller dead... pushing a smaller dead dolphin
Really?
In an advanced state of decay. So it was trying to get it to, to the shore before anything...
Before what?
Well, before it was sort of, set upon by a
Decomposing.
predator. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't find it at all surprising. I'm amazed that you find that surprising.
What?
I'm amazed that you find it surprising.
No, I do.
You should watch more of these nature programmes.
No, you can accept that, mammals like whales and dolphins have feelings about losing a member of their family, a member of their pod, and their school or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that they go to the, incredible trouble of organising a celebration of death and then disposing of the body, it's quite amazing in my view.
Okay. Darren says this, ugly sisters, Porky could play both of them, believe me.
Oh, that's very funny, isn't
now,
it?
speaking of Portsmouth Harbour, did you see that they're picturing those Ainsley America's Cup boats in a couple of papers today?
Yes.
They're out there in their wetsuits and everything, so they're going to be apparently out on the water this weekend.
They're right opposite me. If you come out my balcony in my penthouse down in Gosport, right opposite...
Not really a penthouse.
Right opposite is the hangar where the boats are kept.
I thought the old, what do you call it? The HMS Victory was right opposite you.
No, that's to my left. That's to my left. Straight ahead of me is the hangar, which is a massive...
There's a ferry straight ahead.
No, the ferry's in the middle.
Okay.
This is to the right.
Oh,
the hangar's to the right.
Okay.
It's near, right next to the Spice Island Inn, where you and I went and had dinner one night, okay?
Where they have the Robin Schoenhofer lookalike.
That's exactly it, yeah. And but it's an amazing operation because the boats themselves are not put away with the sails in place. They bring the boat out, they put it in the water because it's a catamaran.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're laughing. I'm trying to tell you.
Somebody's just done a picture of one of these funerals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have to retweet it out.
What is that?
Two dolphins swimming around a coffin.
Well, I mean, that's ridiculous, isn't it? People can't take this thing seriously.
No.
I suppose somebody will start singing Octopus's Garden next to the Ringo Starr song.
Well, you know.
No, what happens is they bring the catamaran out, they put it on the water, and then this crane arrives, right? Well, actually, it's already there, the crane.
Yeah.
And it lifts the wing up. It's not called a sail anymore, it's called a wing.
It's got a wing. Yeah.
And it's huge, the wing.
When is the America's Cup? This endless preparation
next year, isn't it?
Seems to be going on for... I mean, you've been talking about this boat for years.
Yeah, but I mean,
months, anyway.
at the moment, they're going through the qualifying, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah.
Well,
pretty
you have
sure.
to qualify for the America's Cup, surely.
Yeah, you do. Because
No, you don't.
No, you do. Because
There's only about 4 countries in it.
No. I think there's about 8 or 10.
Really?
And in the end, it ends up as two nations vying against each other for it, don't they? And they have to go through all these trials.
I thought the America's Cup was always between the United States and the UK.
No.
Are you sure?
I'm certain, because Australia won it one year. Don't
Did
you
they?
remember when Lloyd, what's his name, who was the editor of the Daily Star, and there's a picture of him on the front of the paper with a hat on with corks tied to it, you know?
Lloyd, what's his name?
Lloyd Turner.
Lloyd Turner, oh, yeah. He's dead now, isn't he?
Oh, he died a long time ago, yeah.
Drank himself to death, probably.
Sorry?
Probably drank himself to death.
Well, no, he got done in the Jeffrey Archer trial.
Yeah.
Because what happened was...
Yeah, but that wasn't why he died.
Well, they said people. Yeah, his wife claimed that the stress of that led to his death.
Really?
Yeah, because the Daily Star picked up on a story that was in the News of the World,
Yeah.
which was accusing Jeffrey Archer of something, and they just reprinted it. And so Jeffrey Archer quite cleverly went after the Daily Star because they
And
didn't
won.
have all the evidence that the News of the World had, and and he won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was going to say was they lift these the blades up. What are they called? Not blades.
The wing.
The wing. The
Yeah.
wing.
Well, you just told me that.
Yeah, and they drop it onto the boat.
Yeah.
And
somebody has to secure it, presumably.
Yeah, exactly, and all that. But they're magnificent vessels.
Yeah.
I mean, how a man...
Maybe you could get out on one of them.
Maybe I could. How a man, or even a team of 6 men, can control such a massive structure at sea, with the wind blowing it one way and the other, it's mind-blowing.
You find all this stuff extraordinary, don't you?
Well, it is extraordinary. It's an extraordinary
Well, if you'd been on a
feat.
sailboat properly, like I have, you wouldn't find it quite so
This is not a
extraordinary.
sailboat.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. It's,
Yes, it
it's a
is.
completely
It's a
different...
catamaran, isn't it?
It's a catamaran, but it hasn't got any sails. It's got wings.
Well, it has. They just call them wings.
No. They're made of, like, perspex and plastic. They're not made of material like wings are, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. You say so.
I do.
You're amazed at what you could learn on this show.
Yep.
This is Talk Sport. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the two Mikes. We're in for Colin Murray all this week and all next week as well, of course. We've been talking about Leicester, we've been talking about Dolphins and Wales, we've been talking about the cricket as well. We'll keep you updated with John Norman. Coming up in this hour, we're going to talk about Pokemon Go and how it's quickly taking over the world, it would seem, apart from certain parts of it. Also, of course, the Porky Quiz as well coming up. That is on Formula One, because it's Hungarian Grand Prix this weekend. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. Now, I've just sent out a picture of the watch of the day, and it's a very interesting looking watch. Turner says this, is that a lady's watch?
No.
It doesn't look like a lady's watch to me.
No, it's a men's watch.
No. So tell us a bit about this watch then.
Well, I know people are going to make a joke out of this, but it's actually called a braille. Now, I know braille is also the language used by people with impaired vision, right? But I haven't got any impaired vision, but it is just called a braille.
Right. Same spelling, B-R-A-I-L-L-E?
No, it's B-R-E-I-L.
All right.
Right. Now, it's got 3 dials on the front, as well as the hands, of course, of the watch. And it's got a date thing.
Right.
It's got 2 buttons on the right.
And where did you get this watch from?
I'm not sure, actually, to be honest. I don't know. But it says on the back, it says...
B-R-A-E-L?
B-R-E-I-L.
Oh, E-I-L. Yeah.
B-R-E-I-L. But it says...
Braille, then?
Braille, yeah, that's it, yeah. Now, it's got a very interesting strap, you see, because...
It's got a hideous blue strap.
No, that's why I bought it.
Yeah.
I can wear it at Everton, you see, as part of my sort of attire for the match.
All right.
And what happens is, it hasn't got... although I always prefer a leather strap to a link one.
A bracelet strap.
A bracelet strap, yeah. Although my Rolex has a bracelet strap, I have to admit.
Your Rolex?
My Rolex, yeah. But anyway, the point of my story is that this has got one of these kind of straps, which is quite useful. I'll take it off for you and show you, right?
Yeah.
See, so when you put it on your wrist, then instead of having to pull a bit of leather across and then...
so it hasn't actually got a normal kind of strap locking device?
No. What you do is you put it on...
and then you try and press it down.
Yeah, press
it down. Having some trouble
hang on,
with
I've just done it. I can't do
it.
There
you go.
Wait a minute. It won't do back. Wait a minute. No, hang on.
Well, where'd you get it, though?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember. I must have had it quite a long time. And
does it work?
Oh, yeah, well, see? So it's snapped on. So look at that. Now, I think that's a fine-looking watch.
No, I don't.
I do.
I think it's quite hideous.
I do. It's square-faced rather than round-faced.
I don't like a square-faced watch.
Well, you know, it's only one of a
It's got a very thick glass as well.
Yeah, thick glass.
Which means that if you look at it from any other angle other than straight on, it sort of refracts the light.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, and this is perhaps the key to its quality, right? When you undo the strap again, which I've just done, and you take it off and you look inside, it says... genuine leather. Sorry, why do you think that's funny?
Because that's the only thing you've got that's genuine leather. Everything else you've got is faux leather.
No.
Well, according to my research here, a Braille watch with no sort of chain links on it can cost anything from $56.95 to $281.
Well, there you go. I think
Depending
it's
on
the
what it
higher
is.
end.
In fact, here it is. This looks like it here.
Yes.
£150 for this one.
150.
It's a bit like that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
150 quid.
Yeah.
Blimey, it's not worth that.
Well, of course
Quartz
it is.
chronograph movement.
Oh, there
IP,
you go.
Stainless steel case and black leather strap.
Well, there you go.
Water resistant to 100 metres.
There you go.
So, I mean, you can go swimming with the dolphins in that one.
That was ridiculous. But, I mean, you know, it is a quality watch, isn't it? Now, in fact, actually, I didn't realise it was that good.
It doesn't look like it's 150 quid worth of watch.
I might get a new battery put in it, actually, and start wearing it again, because, of course, got a new football season coming up. Hopefully I'll be able to go and follow my team at some stage.
Yeah.
And I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah.
So I'm rather pleased with that.
And are we going to keep this going next week? Because you've still got plenty to show us, haven't you?
Well, you did ask me to go right through the 2 weeks.
I did,
you didn't believe I had such a huge collection of watches.
I'm still staggered. I'm still staggered that you've got this many watches.
Yes, I think we will.
Absolutely amazing.
I think we will.
Okay.
Right, good. Now then, tell you what I was going to talk to you about.
What were you going to talk to me about?
Talking about the Pokemon thing in a minute. I don't know why we're talking about that again. We talked about that earlier in the week, but it seems to have gone completely mad.
Well, because the reason we're talking about it is because it's taken over the world. I mean, people are being told they can't go to certain places. Places in London are now putting up signs saying, no Pokemon Go to be played here. You know, the Kremlin have reacted badly and said that nobody should come anywhere near the Kremlin, or else they might get into trouble. They're also suggesting it's some kind of CIA plot to make people discover parts of Russia they didn't know about.
Even vergers complain that children are running around cemeteries, around gravestones.
Some countries in the Middle East are calling it un-Islamic to play.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. Listen, have you heard of this system? Because I think we discussed it a few weeks ago, and you said that's happening in America all the time. Yeah. You can go and hire somebody to give you a hug.
To give you a hug, this is the new thing. This is a new thing. Apparently, you can hire people. Yeah, because people miss intimacy, right? They may be married, they may spend a lot of time away from their partner, or they may still just have a very unintimate marriage, and so they miss being hugged. Well, and a lot of people who are single, and there are more single people now than ever before, because they're living more and more alone, they don't actually have any physical contact with somebody. And I mean, when was the last time somebody hugged you?
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. It says here, the people who carry this out are called professional smugglers. Yeah. They can recruit an army of cuddlers. They run businesses to hug clients who need a comfort, from stressed businessmen to the recently bereaved. Yes. And they say that what happens is, if you're in a hotel or something like that, these huggers come along and they actually give you a hug before you go to bed at night to make you feel better. Yes. It costs £50 an hour or £450 for an extended dusk till dawn snuggle.
How much?
£450 a night.
£450 for the night.
But isn't this just expensive? Isn't this just another cover for sexual interaction between two people?
No, they're very clear about that. They say it's absolutely nothing to do with that. And in fact, they do it in such a way that it could not be in any way misconstrued. Yeah. Right?
Well, one woman who does it, apparently, dresses in pyjamas and slippers, gets in a car, goes round to people's houses, wraps her arm around them, gives them a hug, tells them they're wonderful, don't worry, it'll be better in the morning.
I think you might quite like that.
And you pay £50 for that before you go to bed.
Well, you could get that, couldn't you?
No, I would never do that. I think it's mad.
Make you feel better about yourself.
No, not at all. I don't need to feel better about myself.
Well, when was the last time somebody hugged you, then?
Well, I don't need hugging.
Well, no, everybody needs hugging. No, everybody needs hugging. Hugging is great.
All right, well,
I'll give you a hug if you like.
No, thank you.
Sure?
Thank you.
I'll even give you one for free.
No, thank you. Set guidelines include a rule that a cushion must be wedged between the pelvic areas of the cuddler and the recipient, right?
Well, like the old phone book trick.
Yeah.
Right.
You must wear long pyjamas or tracksuit bottoms rather than shorts.
I haven't got any pyjamas.
And the whole point of the service is to make it completely anti-sexual.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
trying to reclaim touch.
Yeah.
And to the skeptics, this woman here, whose name is, to the skeptics, this woman here, Miss Mansfield, who runs this, one of the businesses here that's been cited, right? Yeah. She says...
it's very popular with the skeptics, actually.
If you're lucky enough not to need a cuddle, then good for you. Well, I fall into that category.
I don't think you do. I think you'd be a much happier bunny if you got cuddled more.
But why would you deprive people who don't have a special someone of the great health benefits that come from touch?
Yeah.
For 3 years, Miss Mansfield has personally offered all cuddle packages, which include the classic, right?
Yeah.
This is good. And the sporty snuggle, where clients
you mean there's different kinds of cuddles?
Yes. Where clients watch a sporting event while being hugged.
Okay.
But she said that rising demand has led her to recruit other staff, and she now hopes the service will grow to include other cities.
You need a lot of that if you're watching the cricket, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
A lot of hugging to get you through another cricket test.
Clients can choose to cuddle on a sofa or in a bed, and they can talk with their snuggler, listen to music, or watch TV during the session. One client said he turned to the service after his wife died of cancer. He said, my wife used to hug away my troubles, and it was something I missed terribly.
Yeah, I bet you would miss being cuddled.
So I got a professional huggler who cuddled me and listened while I poured my heart out about how much I missed her.
Yeah.
I found it very comforting.
Is that not extra? if they have to listen to you as well.
No, I don't. I think it's part of the service.
Really?
It says here, from the moment we are born, according to one researcher, we want to be held.
Yeah.
It's a very natural phenomenon.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I think certain people are better at snuggling than others, but as I like to be close to the people, I think I have a skill. That comes from the woman.
Well, maybe if you don't want to
Miss
be hugged, you could hire yourself out as a hugger, and you could meet more people.
I don't want people hugging me, thank you.
Yeah, but you can hug them. And that
No,
way
I
you're
don't
still in
want
control.
to go around hugging strangers.
Why not?
What would I want to do that for?
Because it
How
might
do I
give
know
you
where
a
they've
sense of well-being.
No, it doesn't give me a sense of well-being at all. Give me a sense of revulsion.
Really?
To be getting into
intimate
groping, intimate embraces.
No, you fear intimacy. That's your problem.
No, intimate embraces with people who are strangers. I mean, crikey almighty, you try to avoid that all the time, don't you?
No,
you know, when people come,
not at all.
You know, some people grab you even in the
Have
office.
you never been at a football match and hugged the person next to you when somebody scores a goal?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but I mean,
he's a complete stranger.
Yeah, but that's not somebody you've rung up and said, "Oh, can you come to the football ground this afternoon, please? Stand next to me so I can give you a hug when Everton score." Have I? Hey?
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That does seem a bit more kind of preconceived, doesn't it?
Premeditated.
Or even premeditated.
Exactly.
Yeah. I still think it'd do some good.
No.
This is Talk Sport. TalkSport's offering a VIP hospitality package at Ascot Racecourse for the Red Bull Air Race on the 13th and the 14th of August.
That's right. Thanks to Red Bull, you'll have prime seats to witness all the loops, spins and rolls as the world's most skilled pilots are put to the test in the Berkshire countryside.
Sign up to strap in and take part in the speed round next week with Hawksby and Jacobs at talksport.com/win. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. The Porky Quiz is getting closer and closer and closer, and because it's Hungarian Grand Prix weekend, of course, we thought, what better subject than to test you on Formula One.
Indeed.
So we've got 10 questions on that coming up very shortly. Before we do that, though...
I'm an expert, by the way.
You are an expert on Formula One. I'm glad you said that. Stuart Miles is a man who's a tech journalist, knows all there is to know about Pokemon Go, or Porkyman Go, as some of us have been calling it, because this has literally taken the world by storm. It's a complete and utter phenomenon. Nobody can explain it. Even I don't think Nintendo thought it would be this successful.
No.
Stuart, a very good afternoon to you.
Hello.
Tell us about this game, because, I don't think I don't know whether anyone saw this coming in your world, but, it seems to me that even Nintendo didn't expect this to be quite such a massive success.
No, it's been quite the phenomenon, certainly for the last week, and I've known in my sort of 15, 20 years of writing about technology, I haven't really seen anything to hit the stage so quickly and so aggressively that everybody is talking about it.
Right. And everybody seems to be playing it as well.
Yeah, the idea of the game is that very much like the TV show Pokemon, you have to go off and find these Pokemon that are hiding wherever they are around the world. So you actually have to get off your bottom, walk outside, and go and hunt them down with your phone.
But isn't it causing quite a few problems in quite a lot of different parts of the world? I mean, the Americans have banned people from the 9/11 memorial site. We've had the Kremlin saying don't bring your Pokemon Go anywhere near here.
We've had vicars complaining that people are scouring graveyards for the Pokemons. I mean, it's getting a bit antisocial, isn't it?
Well, what they've done is that the company that's made the game has overlaid a huge amount of data across the world, and they've used certain points to do that. And what you find is that a lot of memorial sites or churches or things like that are areas where they have these things called Pokestops, where you have to go to get new bits of kit to be able to continue to hunt for the Pokemon. And that's great in one way because it encourages people to explore memorials or plaques or go to your local church or things like that. But obviously that can also have adverse effects, as we found in sort of like the Holocaust Memorial in the States has sort of said, that this is a place of respect, not somewhere where you should be hunting for the Pikachu or a Bulbasaurus.
Right. Yeah. Now, the funny thing is, and we were talking about this earlier, that even though you kind of know that there's people all around you playing it, I've never actually seen somebody playing it. And, I've been reading about certain countries in the Middle East who are saying it's un-Islamic to play this game. As I say, the Russians have said, apart from not going anywhere near the Kremlin, that it's some kind of CIA plot. I mean, it's just remarkable.
It is. I'm the other way around. I have seen a lot of people play it on the streets.
How can you spot someone? Maybe I'm just not looking the
Normally,
right way.
they're looking at their phone, but they're not actually doing anything with their phone. So where you'd kind of be looking at your phone for a map or typing a text as you walk or something, they kind of have that brief hesitancy about them. But yeah, I mean, I've done it where I've gone for a run at a local around a local lake, and you can clearly see people Pokemon hunting. You're almost like, who are you catching? Kind of thing. And they're always keen to shout out and tell you.
But in addition to that, Stu, like most industries have service industries to them, the service industry sector is building up massively. We had a report in this morning saying that one company in Birmingham is now offering at £2,000 a day a chauffeur-driven trip around the city in an X-Type Jaguar to take you to the possible sites where the monsters are.
Well, that's brilliant. The only problem is with that is that you can't to some of the elements of the game is you have to walk to hatch eggs and things, and so as soon as you go over 20 miles an hour, Pokemon, the game, realises that you aren't walking anymore, and therefore it doesn't count your distance.
Well, so you'd be all right in a taxi in London,
get in that Jag and then go very, very slowly to be able to still hatch eggs.
But couldn't they whip you round to the possible areas where it is, and then you get out of your chauffeur-driven Jag and you walk the last 150 yards or something?
You could. That's great for Pokestops, Poke gyms. But that's not brilliant for just the trouble with this game that it means you actually have to get out and play it is that Pokemon could be anywhere. I found a Psyduck in my local in my neighbour's garden. I found there's certain water-based Pokemon that you have to go to a river or a lake to find. They are everywhere.
Yeah, well...
And will this go on for a long time? I mean, presumably it's got a shelf life.
It'll go on forever.
As, once you've collected all the Pokemon that you can, that's it, isn't it?
Well, there are 151 Pokemon to get. We've seen reports that one person has managed to collect them all, got to catch them all. That's the sort of phrase of the TV series. I think you will find that people will wane in interest as it goes along because they'll just find it harder. And depending on where you live, will depend on how many memorial sites there are around you to be able to get more staff or just. Generally, how many Pokemon are out. I live in the countryside. There aren't many where I live. Go into London, and there are dozens.
Yeah, sure. And Stu, do you know if one particular man has been credited with inventing this latest phenomenon? Because if he has, and he's on a percentage of $42 billion, which is what Nintendo's value has soared to, is not going to be a bad payday, is it?
Well, the fantastic thing for Nintendo is that they haven't actually created this game. It's Pokemon is their idea. Right. They own half of the company, one of the companies that are involved. There's two companies that are involved. So it's not actually a Nintendo game in the first place. They've just massively benefited from the excitement of all of us anyway.
Well, because they provide the platform, so to speak, to play it.
No, they provide the characters.
I see.
Nintendo characters, but it's actually created by a game called Niantic and the Pokemon Company.
Right.
Nintendo owns half of one of those companies, so it's not actually a Nintendo game.
And will they sort of come out with more versions of it, like versions maybe that you can play where you don't have to go out and about? I see that they're now worth more as a company than Sony, who've got PlayStation sort of pretty much wrapped up. I mean, could they produce something that you could play on the PlayStation as well?
Well, I mean, Pokemon it's been a huge phenomenon. I think it's made $60 billion over the last 20 years through merchandise, through games, through TV shows and stuff. You can obviously get Pokemon, not Pokemon Go, but you can get Pokemon, which is effectively the same game for the Nintendo 3DS, which is their handheld console. So you don't have to go anywhere. There's no AR element to it. There's no sort of walking around geolocation stuff to it. So if you want to play Pokemon and you also don't want to go walking or actually move, get out of your house, then buy a 3DS and just buy one of the many Pokemon games you've been able to get for a number of years.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
Stuart
Stu.
Miles there, tech journalist from PocketLint.com. A couple of tweets that have come in. Bill says, if you need a hug and a pint, Porky, there's a pub in Glasgow that offers both. So there you go.
Thank you very much indeed.
And David Biggleswade says, Mike, Porky's not done jewellers or moving on stolen watches, is he? Because he can never quite remember buying any of them. I must admit, I'm looking for a Ben Sherman one with a leather strap.
Yeah, really? I'll try and find
you've got one of those.
And Nick here says, clearly those who pay for professional huggers are not paying enough tax. What a complete waste of money.
Why are they not paying enough tax?
Well, because if you've got money to spare on ridiculous things like hiring people to come around and hug you late at night with a cushion between their thighs so that they can't involve any hanky-panky.
You love the cushion, do you?
Yeah, well, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
We shall see. Coming up next, it's the Porky Quiz. Talk Sport, we are the two mics, and that music has to signify only one thing, really. I mean,
Yes.
now whenever you hear that now, you just think about motor racing, don't you?
Of course you do.
You don't think about Fleetwood Mac. You
Oh,
don't think
Murray,
about
what's
Stevie
his
Nicks.
name?
Murray, what's his name?
Yeah, you know.
What, the commentator?
Yes, Murray Walker.
Murray Walker,
Yes.
yeah. Well, Hungarian Grand Prix, of course, is this weekend.
Yeah.
We haven't actually talked about Nico Rosberg, who's just got a renewed contract.
That's right, yeah.
But we may talk about that a little bit later
Yeah,
on.
sure.
But because of that weekend, we thought we'd give you a quiz on Formula
Excellent.
1, which I don't think we've ever done before, funnily enough.
No, I don't think we have.
And so the independent quizmasters have come up with 10 questions, which, of course, have only got one answer, not multiple choice or anything like that. If you hear if you get the correct answer, you will hear this sound.
Fantastic!
If
Yeah.
you get one wrong, you will hear this sound.
Absolutely furious!
Yeah.
And there you go. Well, there's your
Okay,
man,
yeah.
Murray Walker. Right, you ready for question number 1?
Certainly am.
Who won last year's Hungarian Grand Prix?
Hungarian Grand Prix last year
yes.
was won by at this stage of the season it was won by let me see
You
now.
don't know, do you?
Yes, I know. It was Lewis Hamilton.
Incorrect.
No.
Absolutely.
I was going to say Sebastian Vettel.
It was Sebastian Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel. I
For
was gonna say
Ferrari.
Sebastian Vettel.
Question number 2.
Damn.
Where is Kimi Räikkönen from? Looking for a town and a country.
No. You're looking for a country.
No, I'm looking
Kimi
for a town.
Räikkönen is from Finland.
And a town.
Helsinki.
Incorrect.
No.
I'll give you half a point.
No.
You get half a point for
That's
Finland.
ridiculous. Nobody knows the name of any town in Finland except Helsinki.
Well, if you're
nobody.
If you're doing a motor racing quiz, you need to know.
You name another town in Finland apart from Helsinki, and the one you've got written in front of you.
Espoo.
Nobody's ever heard of Espoo. That's rubbish.
That's where he's from.
It's ridiculous.
You get half a point.
No.
Question number 3. Where is the next Grand Prix?
Hungary.
Incorrect.
Excuse me. The next Grand Prix is
No,
taking
the
place
next one
this
after
week.
Hungary.
You didn't say that.
All right, well, I'll give you another chance.
No,
What
you
is the
didn't
next
say
Grand
that.
Prix
No,
after
you've
Hungary?
changed the question.
No, I haven't.
I'm sorry, I
When
got
is
the
the next
question
Grand
right.
Prix?
You asked me, where's the
Look.
next Grand Prix?
Look.
I answered Hungary.
No, you
Where
didn't.
is the next Grand
No,
Prix?
the next Grand
It's
Prix
in
is not Hungary. The next one is the one after this, right?
No, I'm sorry. You asked me the
This
straightforward
weekend,
question.
No, this weekend,
Where is
it's
the
in
next
Hungary.
Grand Prix?
Where's the next one?
You've changed the question.
No, I haven't.
That's another question.
No, well, if you can't understand the questions, then I'm afraid you will have to be disqualified from the quiz.
I perfectly understood the question.
Well, would you
And
like
I
another-
have 3 independent witnesses out here,
Would you
and
like-
it's on tape.
No, oh, so you think by answering the Hungarian Grand Prix that we've been talking about all morning, which happens in a couple of days' time?
Yes, right.
You think that's the answer?
That is the next Grand
Would you
Prix.
like to have a go at what the next one is after that?
I would then be accepting and exceeding
I see.
that you...
Okay, well, I'll just put down, and misqualified on that answer.
No.
Disqualification
No,
on that
no,
answer.
no.
So far you got half a point out
No,
of 3.
if I accede to your request to answer
It's an
yet
obvious
another
question.
no.
Obvious question. Question number 4.
Yes.
Who does Felipe Massa race for?
Felipe Massa?
Yeah.
At the moment?
Yeah.
He races...
Well, no, not at the moment. No, I'm going to be talking about when he's racing in the Grand Prix.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Felipe Massa is currently a driver with Red Bull.
Incorrect.
No!
He
Is it McLaren?
No, it is Williams.
Williams, yes, I knew it was
Question number 5.
Yes.
Who was demoted from Red Bull to Toro Rosso to make way for Max Verstappen?
Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
That was the fairly useless Russian guy. Okay, Russian guy. It's the Russian guy. It's a young Russian.
I can't help you with his nationality.
Russian. I know he's Russian.
I can't
know
help
he's
you with
Russian. A Russian fella, and if he's Russian, then his name was almost certainly Igor.
Igor what?
Igor Munchkin.
Incorrect.
No, what?
Danny Kvyat.
Well, he was Russian, wasn't he?
I don't know.
He was
I don't
Russian,
have that
yeah.
written down. Question number 6. Which country has the most drivers in this year's Formula 1?
Let me think. Most drivers
Yeah.
in Formula 1.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt,
Yeah.
that is the United Kingdom.
Incorrect.
No, it's not incorrect.
It's Germany.
Can't be Germany.
It's Germany. They've got 4.
No.
England have only got 3.
No.
Hulkenberg, Rosberg, Vettel, and Wehrlein.
No.
Question number 7. In
Right.
2008-9, 3 manufacturers withdrew from Formula 1. Who were they?
What?
3 manufacturers withdrew from Formula 1 racing.
When?
In 2008-2009. Excuse me.
Well, that was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's no relevance whatsoever to Formula
It's a
1.
question about Formula 1. These were manufacturers who were part of the manufacturing teams in the, like McLaren, like Mercedes.
Yeah.
But these are 3 that left the business.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a very relevant question for Formula One.
So you want one of the three?
No, I want all three of them.
That's ridiculous.
Why? You don't know anything about Formula One,
Hang
do
on,
you?
excuse me. Right, one of them was...
Seen the time.
One of them was Renault. The second one was Volkswagen.
Uh-huh.
And the third one was... yes, I know, I've got it now. It was the Indian lot, Tata.
Renault, Volkswagen and Tata.
Yes. So what are you laughing at?
It was Honda,
yes.
BMW, and Toyota.
Right, okay.
So I'm afraid that's incorrect.
Well...
But you only get one incorrect for that. Question number 8.
Yeah.
How many points do you get for finishing third in a race?
Third?
Yeah.
Well, you get 25 for finishing first.
That's not what I asked you.
You get 18 for the next one.
Yeah.
And for third place, you get... 15.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's the first one you've got right. That's the first one you've got right. It's 1.5 points so far out of 8. Question number 9.
2.5. I got the Hungarian one right.
No, that's not. No, that's not what the answer is down here. So
I don't care.
Therefore, it's not right.
The question.
No,
I got
It's wrong.
I got the answer right to the question.
Question number 9. How many Grand Prix races made up the 1950 inaugural season?
1950 inaugural season.
Yes.
I would say it was 7.
Correct.
Hooray! Ooh!
How do you know that?
Because I do.
Well, because you remember it.
No, because I
You got it written down somewhere.
No, I haven't got it written down.
You got
somewhere.
nothing else right.
No, I'm sorry.
How could you possibly pick that number out of the air?
Because I have research
All right,
documents.
final question.
Yes.
In order to get more than 2.5.
3.5. I got
2.5.
Hungarian right.
No, I correctly predicted you'd get 3 out of 10. How many podium finishes does Lewis Hamilton have?
Podium finishes.
Yes.
Podium finishes. Now, Michael Schumacher won 91 Grand Prix. And the next nearest to him was Alain Prost. And below him is Lewis Hamilton, who's got... now, you've got to give me an allowance here of 3 either way.
I could give you 3 either way.
Right, okay. So he's won 46 Grand Prix, but he's probably finished on the podium 20 times. I would say 94.
94 is exactly right.
Thank you.
You're cheating, aren't you?
No, of course I'm
You
not
just
cheating.
picked 94 out of the air. You expect me to believe that you know that Lewis Hamilton has got 94?
Of course I know.
Absolutely
The
ridiculous.
shock on your
No,
face.
absolutely
The
ridiculous.
absolute shock on your face.
Yeah, because you couldn't have... I mean, you didn't know anything.
Of course I did.
You didn't know anything.
Of course I did.
You didn't know he was demoted from Red Bull to Toro Rosso. You didn't know when the next Grand Prix
they were
is.
silly questions.
You didn't know who won last year's Hungarian Grand Prix.
They weren't pure questions.
And yet, the last 2, somehow, you got completely and utterly correct.
Yes,
Bang
that's
on.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking
Yeah, you see,
gerrymandering.
you're gerrymandering, trying to give me bum questions.
And you thought
I
that
outfoxed
Volkswagen, you thought Volkswagen had a racing team, right? And you thought Tata had a racing team.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well,
absolutely staggering.
And I'm having the Hungarian one, by the way.
No, you're not having that.
No, the audience will tell you I have to have it.
You got 3.5. You got 3.5 out of 10, half a point more than I thought you would have.
Oh, really?
So that's the Porky Quiz.
Well, let me tell you this. This is the 2 mics in for Colin Murray on Talk Sport with Wix, okay? And half price on selected tiling and flooring with an extra 15% across the range when you buy online. This terrific offer ends on the 2nd of August.
Second test underway up at Old Trafford. Of course, John Norman is watching it for us. John.
84-1 England, and it's looking a good toss to win. England winning the toss, deciding to bat, and a 50 partnership for Cook and Root, England's 2 best batsmen. Both looking in good nick, solid in defence, but quick to attack. A couple of Joe Root's back foot drives have been the standout shots of the session so far, and neither have let Yasir Shah settle, which is important. 10 wickets at Lords. He's been forced to change ends already. So a good start for England. They are 84-1.
Thanks very much indeed, John. Of course, you'll be hearing more updates throughout the Hawksby and Jacobs show coming up at 1 o'clock. Mark says this on Twitter at the 2 mics. He says, Igor Munchkin, that famous Formula One driver.
Yes.
New levels of plankerism being shown today.
Yeah.
Joe says, Volkswagen have never ever had a car in Formula One, let alone left it.
Right.
Wrong Star says, has Porky ever said pass when he doesn't know the answer? How can you guess at a Russian name? Richard simply says, I can't believe it.
Matthew says, hang on, excuse me, let's have a few positives here.
Yeah.
Absolutely class, Porky, well done, you got at least 4. because he's given me the credit for answering Hungary's next
but
Grand
that
Prix.
wasn't the answer.
No, it was the answer, because look, we can play it again, and you can embarrass yourself, or you can give me the point.
No, I'm not giving
you
you
asked
the point.
me when.
All I can give you is the point for a correct answer.
Where is the next Grand Prix?
Do you know where the next Grand Prix is after Hungary?
It's irrelevant.
Okay. Well, if you knew the answer to that, I'd give you the point.
There's a break anyway after the Hungary one.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is.
No, there isn't. It's next weekend.
Now then,
I have to take half a point off you.
It says, you might have lost your ginger locks, Porky, but you still got it, says Dan. So you see lots of positives coming in here, which you fail to read all the time.
I don't see any positive ones. Shocking gerrymandering from Mike Parry. No way he knew the last two questions.
I did.
No
Indeed.
way at all. Nobody believes you. See, whenever you get anything that spot on, because of your previous history, people just don't accept that you would have known the answer.
Darren says, and this is brilliantly put, Free the Hungarian won.
Yeah.
If he hadn't cheated, I'd have let him have it. Unscrupulous plank, says Darren.
Well, he's talking about you.
That's because you've...
he's talking about you.
You've misdirected their minds.
No, he's suggesting that you've cheated.
Yeah.
At least Porky's upped his acting game when he's cheated, trying to compare to Schumacher, and the Oscar goes to, says Wrong Star. See, people can see through your pretense.
And good advice here from William. Porky, you must insist that each question should require one-word answer only, not multiple answers.
One-word answer?
Multiple answers.
What do you mean one-word answer?
Well,
How can you have a one-word answer?
You wanted the names of 3 motoring companies
for
one answer.
Well, you didn't get any.
Well, I'd have got one if it would have been one. I would have done.
Oh, how would you have got one? You would have picked Volkswagen. Or you would have picked Renault. Or you would have picked perhaps Tata.
I'd have got it right. Don't really worry about that.
Yeah, never mind. I mean, I think you did all right. You did no better than I thought you would do. I said you'd get 3.
Well, you know,
you got 3.5.
You setting the questions, mate. Listen, I'll tell you. I was going to tell you. You know
what were you going to tell me?
You know, all the time you see these. Years ago, like these beauty competitions, and ladies used to come on and they say, "Oh yeah,
what you mean, like Miss World and all that?"
Yeah, I want to.
They still have Miss World, by the way.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know.
Didn't it got discredited somehow? Didn't
I've no idea. I don't know. I've never seen it actually for years. But you know, the girls always used to say, "Oh well, I want to travel the world and I want to do a load of work for charity."
Save the world.
Believe it or not, if you put charity work on your CV, according to a report published today, it does actually do you a lot of good.
That doesn't surprise me.
If you say this is a study by the British Heart Foundation. Now I have some links with the British Heart Foundation.
But you see, isn't this typical of some of these charities though? Because they'll tell you that, right? They'll put out a press release to say, if you do some charity work, particularly for the British Heart Foundation, that'll be good for your job prospects.
This is basically what it's saying. It says,
I mean, in all your years of running news desks and supposedly having some kind of eye for PR blunders and PR spin, I'm amazed you never see these things.
Of course I saw them all the time.
No, but this is PR spin.
No, this is not PR spin.
Yes, it is.
No, because it's a Heart Foundation charity of which I'm associated.
Yeah, but they're saying, but they're telling people to put, heart, not necessarily Heart Foundation, but charitable works on their CV.
No,
which therefore helps them.
No, they're weeding out applicants from people who are applying for jobs with them. You see.
Well, if you're a charity, of course you're going to employ somebody who does charitable work.
Yeah, they said now their research shows that more than half companies said they'd be more likely to employ somebody who says they've done charity work on the CV than someone who had not. In fact, 42% said that seeing voluntary work on a CV would greatly enhance the chances of the applicant.
Oh, amazing.
Make more likely to want to interview the applicant because they say they would be a nice person.
Right. Yeah, so they're suggesting there. I mean, so if you read this story in the paper, right, you'll believe that you should put some kind of charitable work down your CV and probably do some charitable work, which will eventually benefit the charity.
Yeah, well, I've done loads of charitable work in my life.
Have you?
I've never had a thanks for it, let alone any.
Well, I mean, we all know why you stopped giving money to the site savers because you felt personally slighted by the head of the organisation.
The chief executive
because she wouldn't come on the phone to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
How petty is that?
No, it's not.
So all these poor people in Africa who you're supposed to be saving have now not been saved because of your sort of intransigence.
Yeah.
Not a very charitable outlook, is it?
Well, you see, again, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Now,
I wouldn't suggest that I am.
Things not to put on your CV.
Yeah. Criminal record?
No. Going to the gym.
Going to the gym?
Yeah. Only 6% of employers are impressed. If you
why would you put on your CV anyway?
I don't know. People do apparently. Are impressed. Well, that's probably the same thing. You know, people who are dim enough to say, "Oh, I think I'll put on the CV." Like,
but if it asks
gym.
you for outside work interest and you go to the gym, why should you lie about it?
Well, I don't know, but apparently only 6% of employers think that's improves.
Luckily, I've never had to put that on any one of my CVs.
No, exactly. Improves your. Well, not many people here do. Not many people here at TalkSport do have that. go to the gym.
There are loads of people here who go to the gym.
Rubbish.
Absolutely do.
No.
Loads of the people here go to the gym. I would say 60 to 70%.
Rubbish.
That's because you don't talk to anyone here.
It's nonsense.
You don't have any conversations with anyone. You sit there on your own, mumbling away.
Here we go. Research among workers found that those who've done voluntary work typically manage to enhance their salary prospects by over £1,000 a year.
Look how funny you think that is.
Sorry,
You're
what?
such a plank.
No.
£1,000 is a lot of money to some people.
Well, of course it is.
Not to you, it is.
1 in 20 said it made them more attractive to the opposite sex, or helped them to get dates.
Would you employ somebody because they put charitable work down on their CV?
Well, I'd ask them what sort of charitable work it was.
And what would be good and what would be bad?
Well, if they're contributing to local charities, as I do, I think that's very good. If, on the other hand, they were just sending money...
What's the difference between a local charity and a big one?
A local charity, you can actually go and see the horses, in my case, being treated beautifully and looked after. And,
but what do you do for them?
And nourished and concerned.
You just hand them money?
Well, I provide feed for them. I provide feed, yeah.
Well, you take feed packets of feed down there.
No, you idiot.
What are you calling me an idiot for?
Well, I'm kind of chairman of the sort of feed committee, if you see what I mean.
Chairman of the feed committee.
That makes sure there's plenty of hay in the winter and all that kind of stuff.
Hey!
Whereas...
We said that song.
Whereas, if you start sending money to huge global charities now...
Like Sight Savers.
You have no idea how much of it actually goes to helping people
you thought that
retain and regain their sight.
By paying out huge amounts to them that they would somehow treat you like a VIP. And when they didn't, you dumped them.
Considering the amount of money I gave them, I think they should have been more grateful for my contribution, particularly as I was able to give them some sort of a profile, and I believe that their lack of recognition of my efforts was wrong.
Yeah, I know. I can see that. Now, we've given away every day this week a £100 Wix gift card to the best caller of the day. And today's best caller of the day, you have chosen.
I have chosen.
And he is John.
The Leicester fan.
The Leicester fan.
Indeed.
The first caller who, as some people said, completely rinsed you at the start of the show.
He didn't rinse me.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't.
He absolutely did. So it's very generous of you to not punish him in that way.
He was knowledgeable and allowed us to engage in a terrific debate.
Had you on toast.
But we opened his eyes because we're the first people to say, look, maybe Claudio Ranieri should push off.
Yeah, well,
right?
no, we didn't say that. You said that.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't speak for me.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.